the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are, good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. I'm Kevin O'Sullivan and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Stand by for 3 hours of news, views and dynamic debate. Get stuck in, get on the show, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000. There's a new Pope in town. Cardinal Robert Prevost, born in 1955 in Chicago, the first ever American pontiff. His papal name will be Leo XIV. I'll profile the Catholic Church's Holy Father later in the show. We'll start, though, with the story we broke last night as the government continues to refuse to reveal if the Iranian terror suspects arrested over the weekend are cross-channel migrants. As it emerges that the arrests were being made counter-terrorism cops raided asylum seeker hotels. Why won't Two-Tier Keir's crew tell us the detainees' immigration status? Is this another Southport-style cover-up to spare the government's blushes? 0344 499 1000. In other news, more migrant crisis crackdown announcements from Labour as the invasion of the illegals spirals out of control, and the bill for their hotel accommodation is predicted to add up to a staggering £15 billion over the next decade. Good to know that this chaos will still be with us in 10 years. 0344 499 1000. Plus, panicking Labour MPs are told to stop Nigel Farage getting into number 10 at all costs. Good luck with that. 0344 499 1000. Not forgetting my exclusive interview tonight with Meghan Markle's brother, Thomas Markle Jr., who tells me that he believes his scheming sister has ruined Harry and reduced him to a shadow of the confident, carefree man he once was. That's in an hour at 8 p.m. and I'll tell you now, Tom does not mince his words. You won't want to miss it. Also tonight, call Dr. Renee, GP Renee Hunderkamp, in the studio answering all your medical questions. Call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Thursday night together. And let's go straight over to my first guest. A lot going on today, but we're going to return to the story that we broke last night. So welcome to the show, Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Hi, Isabel.
What a great lineup you've got tonight. I can't wait to hear that Meghan Markle interview. It sounds absolutely astonishing.
Well, I can reveal that we did, as we say in the business, pre-record it. So we did it a few hours ago. Thomas Jr. was in. He's in the Philippines with his dad. So we did it live. But and what he has to say, I'll tell you, it will knock your socks off. It's astonishing. It is. I mean. If I say it's a great interview, it's like I'm boasting. No, he's one of those people who gives you a great interview. You just ask the questions and he talks well.
I can't wait. I mean, Harry did look genuinely like a broken man last week.
That's it. That's exactly what he says. He just says, I think we all thought that. You know, what has happened to this once carefree guy who I think we had a couple of psychiatrists on last night who just, we sort of put him on the couch and they just said, yeah, this guy's got serious problems. He really does. And his brother tells me that he is in no doubt that it is his scheming sister that has reduced Harry to the husk of a man, the shadow of the man he once was. So hope everyone will look forward to that. That's in an hour's time. But for the next hour, it's going to be even better. We've got Isabel Oakeshott. So let's talk about that story that that really you broke last night. And today, the various politicians, not just the government, they're still not telling us anything. If you ask, so we're talking about like Tories here as well. Any politician in Westminster, they've all swallowed the Kool-Aid that you can't talk about anybody in case it prejudices their trial. Oh, I'm not a lawyer. I don't want to interfere with the police investigation. Look, let's get this straight. We believe 8 Iranian nationals were arrested on Saturday in connection with a terror plot to attack the Israeli embassy in London. Now, as they were being arrested, we know that counter-terrorism cops were raiding asylum seeker hotels. So the question you and I and other journalists now have been asking, the government and various politicians, indeed the police as well, is are these terror suspects illegal migrants? Are they asylum seekers? Did they arrive here irregularly? Oh, well, we don't want to prejudice the investigation. We don't want to prejudice their trials. Well, we can't prejudice their trials because there are no trials. There cannot be trials until these men are charged. And as for prejudicing the police investigation, any sentient adult can work out it cannot remotely prejudice an investigation if the public know how they got here. Do you see what I'm saying? And yet we're getting the same old flannel from this government, just like we got after the Southport murders. Here we go again, right, Isabel?
It's so obviously an excuse, isn't it? You know, I really have tried to give them the benefit of the doubt on this, trying to imagine how it is that knowing the answer to these very simple questions would somehow derail an ongoing investigation. And I just don't see it. I mean, unless they arrived from Mars and everyone then has to turn their attention to some kind of investigation in outer space, I can't really see how it changes anything in terms of the police inquiries. But it does have very great relevance to our national security, because if these men came over in small boats, then that just underlines the extent to which we are facing a national security crisis. And in my view, it would be time for the government, I mean, frankly, they should have done this long ago, to declare a national emergency. And that allows us to come out of temporarily all that human rights stuff that makes it difficult for us to send channel migrants back again. Yeah. So that's what I think needs to happen. As the longer they don't tell us, the more suspicious I am. I smelt a rat yesterday. That rat smell is getting stronger. And I think they should just come clean. You know, maybe there isn't anything to hide, but I kind of guarantee there is, because there isn't much of a good reason for us to be accepting so many Iranians into our country. 4,158 last year from one of the most hostile rogue states in the world. What are we thinking of?
And this cuts to the heart of exactly what is worrying the people of this country about the migrant crisis. You know, we have thousands and thousands and thousands of these illegal foreigners breaking into the country. Of course, we then embrace them and we put them into hotels all over the country and we give them all this money and doctors and everything they want, free food. So we disperse them around the country and we don't know anything about them. So that's why we ought to know whether these people are asylum seekers or illegal migrants, how they got here. Because if they broke into this country, it reveals that we need to do something about this. If they came here illegally and then they hatched this plot to, I mean, thank God it was foiled. It would have been horrific from what we're hearing. So that is the point. Yesterday, if you recall, we played the deputy leader of the Reform UK Party, Richard Tice, who I think you know, and the Tory Matt Vickers asking the Home Office Minister Dan Jarvis. You know, look, you did this before. In essence, they both said, you did this before. We asked you about the Southport murder suspect. We kept saying, is he an immigrant? Is he an illegal migrant? What is his story? Is there a terrorist connection? And you kept saying, no, no, no. Yeah, it's just a lad from Cardiff, etc., etc. So what Mr. Tice and Mr. Vickers were both asking was, are you doing this again? You know, why won't you tell us about these people? Now, I would suggest it's reasonable to speculate that the reason the government doesn't want us to know, just like they didn't want us to know about Axel Rudakabana up in Southport, is the circumstances of these guys, these Iranian detainees who are still under arrest, being interrogated, not yet charged, would embarrass the government. They would be embarrassed because it would highlight the horrendous nature of what's worrying, what's scary about this migrant crisis, that we are not only letting in thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal foreigners who break into our country. We're not only doing that, we're doing so while knowing absolutely nothing about them. Now, today, and I found this really annoying. I told my friend Mike Graham, I said, you want to get into this? This was last night. I said, on the breakfast show. It looks to, Isabel and I have been talking about this, and we're pretty certain that these Iranian suspects, these terror suspects, are asylum seekers or possibly just illegal migrants, and no one will tell us. So Mike was interviewing James Cartledge, who I think is the Shadow Defence Minister. Now he's a Tory. Watch this. Listen to this.
Well, I mean, to be fair, and I appreciate your frustration, but, you know, having been a Justice Minister, I think there is a due process to follow. These matters ultimately in a democracy are decided through the judiciary in our courts, and we do have to be slightly careful. It doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about the wider issues, notwithstanding any specifics to these people who've been thankfully apprehended.
To say that you can prejudice a police inquiry by telling people who these individuals are and where they came from and how they came to this country, because if you, by that logic, you wouldn't even tell us they were Iranian.
Well, hold on. I mean, look, I get where you're coming from. I know people are frustrated. I would just say that, remember, if for some reason the case was found to have been prejudiced in any way, that could undermine...
Yeah, but they haven't even been charged with anything.
You know,
you can't prejudice a case. You can't prejudice a case before the charges are brought. You can't.
I have to, you know, act responsibly. I think to get into sort of a deep running commentary on a live investigation, we have to be very cautious on that. That is a matter for the police and the judicial authorities. I get your point. I just hope that whoever is responsible is brought to book and through that usual process. And I wouldn't want anything to happen that does prejudice the case. Whether this specifically does, I mean, I'm afraid I'm not a lawyer, and I do think it raises, therefore, both questions of the Home Office and for us in the MOD and Shadow MOD and those with a stake in all the questions around foreign policy at the moment.
That, Isabel, is a textbook lesson in how not to be the opposition. Unbelievable.
Sorry, I was shouting at the radio there. I mean, he says he's not a lawyer. He's not much of an opposition politician either, is he? No. I mean, that was so lame, and it was so patronising as well. The guy didn't know what he was talking about, waffling away about, you know, prejudicing a case. As Mike Graham said, there is no case. You know, the police are investigating. As best of my knowledge, no one has even been charged yet. Quite surprised by how much time they're being given to make that happen, if it is going to happen. But we deserve to know this. And the reason this is so toxic is that if we're right, and we might not be, but this is the whole point about, you know, information vacuums creating speculation. If you and I are right in our little hunch, this is the ultimate evidence that all those bleeding heart lefties who continually weep on about everybody who comes across in a small boat is fleeing war and terror are just plain wrong, and they are dangerously wrong. What if a small but significant number of the people that come over in these boats are not fleeing war and terror, they're actually coming here to create war and terror?
Exactly right. And as I say, James Cartledge there, just showing how not to be the opposition. The opposition should be opposing Labour's unnecessary secrecy. And as I say, I'm pretty certain these people probably are asylum seekers, or they are illegal migrants. And of course, Labour don't want to reveal that, because that would be tremendously embarrassing to them, because it would underline the complete hash they're making of our escalating migrant crisis. The Tories, Reform, Lib Dems, all the opposing parties should be saying, don't do this again. You did it in the summer, and look what happened there. Jonathan Hall, KC, who is the government's independent reviewer of terrorism legislation after Southport, said we must in future be far more transparent. Keep the public in the picture, because when we didn't, after the Southport murders, the lack of information created a swirling mass of misinformation, and from that the riots emerged. And yet the government clearly is not listening, or has not listened, to Jonathan Hall, KC, nor has James Cartledge, nor have the Lib Dems or any of the other parties. I mean, we are the public. Stop treating us like children. Any sentient adult can work out that knowing how these Iranian suspects got into this country cannot possibly affect this police investigation. And please, no talk about prejudicing their trials. There are no trials. If you want to shut the media down in terms of prejudicing a trial, you have to charge the suspects. Until then, we are free to talk about this. Do you see what I mean? These politicians, they're a mixture of scared and legally moronic. They don't understand how these things go.
Yeah, I mean, they're just illiterate, aren't they, on this? And another point to make is that no names have been released. I mean, it's very difficult to mount a case that something can be prejudiced or derailed when we have no idea who these people are. Who knows who they are? Yeah. It doesn't really, at this point, there's no reason why we shouldn't know how they got here. That's the bottom line. And you know what? Keir Starmer and his gang have had a lucky escape today, because there's been so much other news, with the trade deal and the new Pope and so on, that the heat has gone off them on this issue. But I think it is incumbent on opposition politicians, including Mr. Cartledge, to actually up the pressure, not retreat into a cowardly, craven little hole and hide behind legal stuff that they don't, even admits he doesn't understand.
Yes, well, he ought to understand it. And as I say, James, if you're watching, you're the opposition. How about this? Call me controversial. Try opposing the government, not going along with their line. It's ridiculous. Let's go to break now, Isabel, and when we come back, more on the migrant crisis. There's been some crackdown announcements, so it should be solved fairly soon. We'll talk about that after these messages.
finding unfair, but not as well as British citizens. They should have to be able to provide proof of medical insurance. But what they shouldn't be is less expensive to hire than the native population. And under these rules, essentially, it's going to be 20% cheaper for an employer to employ an Indian worker than a Brit. How on earth is that supposed to benefit our society when we've got worklessness that is currently off the charts, particularly in the lower paid sectors, particularly among 18 to 25-year-olds?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. You're not by any chance a Catholic, are you, Isabel?
No, I'm not, no.
Because there's a new Pope. He's an American. He's going to make the Catholic Church great again, apparently. So we'll be profiling, what's he called? Pope Leo the 14th a little later. He's an American from Chicago. Hey, how about that? Right, let's talk about the migrant crisis again. We have to. The thing about Keir Starmer's complete failure to deal with this is it involves these sort of performative statements that sort of make it look as if he's doing something. So two tough talking statements today that will definitely solve the migrant crisis. One is they're both crackdown announcements. One is that all migrants coming to live and work in Britain will have to learn fluent English to get their visas. Well, the thing I think about that is I wonder how they will define fluent English and will they really enforce this. The other one I think is even more fanciful. This is that the government is ordering these ludicrous, moronic immigration tribunal judges, you know, the ones that sort of keep saying, yeah, you don't have to go home because your kid doesn't like Albanian chicken nuggets and all that kind of stuff. The government is ordering them to ignore these kind of laughable excuses. And they say that they're going to close the right to a family life ECHR loophole. That, of course, is, you know, if you're a paedophile or something and you've done 10 years in jail, you come out, we're going to deport you back to Syria or wherever you're from. They appeal. Some tribunal judge will say, oh, well, I'm afraid I am bound by the terms of the European Convention on Human Rights, and there is a clause to say that if you have a right, you have a right to a family life, and because you, Mr. Paedophile, have your own family here and you got 2 kids of your own, I can't send you back. So they say they're going to close that loophole. They can't. The British government cannot change the terms of the ECHR. They can just tell the judges, oh, well, you know, can you not do that anymore? And you know what these left-wing judges will do? They will ignore it. So both of these crackdown announcements won't amount to a hill of beans.
Yeah, isn't it funny that these crackdown announcements come a week after voters cracked down on the Labour Party and sent them quite the message about their view on Labour's record on immigration. I mean, on the one hand, I'm pleased that the government has issued this edict to judges. I mean, after all, judges were pretty rapid to take up Keir Starmer's other edicts about cracking down on the far-right thugs in the wake of last summer's riot. So it'll be a big test for the judges to see if they're just as enthusiastic to take up this direction as they were after the riots. And as for the closing the loopholes, I'm going to say a bit, at the risk of sounding a bit like Mr. Cartledge, I'm not a lawyer. I haven't asked any lawyers, which would be the normal thing I would do. I haven't asked any lawyers as to, is this really possible? But if it is possible, why didn't they do it when they first came into power? I mean, how many times have they needed to be shown what an absolute disaster this is? There's actually a much simpler way of going about it.
I know what you're going to say. Leave the ECHR,
yeah,
exactly.
All together now. Yeah. How about we just leave the ECHR?
Exactly right, exactly right. Again, both of these announcements reveal, as you say, the government is running terribly scared after their shellacking by Reform last week in the local elections and the parliamentary by-election in Runcorn. And the other is that they want to pretend that they're going to solve this crisis with this kind of nonsense. But you can't just say, well, listen, judges, you know that really awkward clause about right to a family life. In future, can you just ignore that? I mean, they're not going to do it, are they?
Well, not unfortunately, given the kind of character of these judges. I mean, they're just leaning towards the applicant in each of these cases. You know, we've seen that far too many times. So this is really desperate stuff. And, you know, it links very nicely to our last story because they are under one hell of a lot of pressure on this issue now. And the migrants are going to continue to come over. I mean, this thing about they've all got to speak fluent English. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yes.
how are we going to enforce that? I mean, what, all these illegal immigrants that are coming across the channel, many of whom can barely speak even just to introduce themselves. Are we going to send them back because they can't speak English when we don't send them back on any other bases? I mean, they don't get sent back if they commit heinous crimes, but, oh, well, they can't string a sentence together, so off you go then. I just can't really see it happening, can you? And it is very, very serious issue, given the insane amount of public money that is spent on translation services. But I'm sorry to say, a lot of that money is spent on translating for people who've been here for absolutely years, and we've got no hope whatsoever of sending anywhere.
Yeah, there are thousands of people in this country who've lived here for 30 years, 40 years, who can't speak English. So, I mean, the principle behind this crackdown I completely agree with, but it won't happen. I can't see how they will enforce it. Now, let's move on still with the migrant crisis, because we revealed on this show last night, the story's been running all day, but it bears discussion. Britain's nightly asylum seeker hotel bill is revealed to be just over £4 million every single day. So that's £4 million a night, which means that the cost of putting up, and I think it's alarming the way that this was framed, that the cost of putting up migrants over the next decade is predicted to be a staggering £15 billion, which kind of reveals they're not expecting this crisis to be solved anytime soon. In fact, at no time in the next 10 years. That's a bit depressing, isn't it?
Well, the hope is that at the next opportunity, this government is booted out, and in comes someone or some organisation, some political party that takes a rather different view. I don't think that the British public will tolerate another 10 years of this. Absolutely no way. This is a simmering pot, and very soon I think it's going to boil over.
And I've got a last question before we go to break. Do you happen to know, Isabel, how many evil people smuggling gangs the government has smashed so far?
Is this a multiple choice question? Is it A?
Is it A, 0, B, 0, or C, the square root of sod all?
I think it's A, B, and C.
Yeah,
isn't
that's
it?
the one. It's this absurd situation. One of those situations that if you didn't laugh, you'd cry. It really is very serious. And as we also have just discussed, you know, remember this. It's not just about the numbers. It's not just about the hotels or the accommodation centres or the way this country is being changed culturally by this constant invasion of foreigners. It is about that we don't know who the hell these people are. And again, let's ask that question again. Among them were there these Iranians that were arrested on Saturday. My bet, I was going to say my guess, but I put money on it. Yes, they're asylum seekers or even just plain illegal migrants, and the government doesn't want us to know that, because that would put into sharp focus just how hopeless they are at dealing with this migrant crisis. Just to remind everyone, more than 11,000 migrants have come across the Channel illegally so far this year. That's 40% up on the same time last year, and that breaks all previous records. So the government's strategy, smash the gangs, it's just pathetic, and it's not working. So let me ask the audience, let me know what you think about that. 03444 991 now, Labour, as you say, they are panicking now due to being completely hopeless at being the government. Labour MPs were called to a crisis meeting on Tuesday night to be told that they're in the fight of their lives, and that keeping out Nigel Farage out of number 10 will be a battle for the very future and heart and soul of the country. They've got to keep Nigel out. They've been told to keep Nigel out. They haven't got any idea how to do that. We'll talk about that next. There where you are.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Isabella Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Before we go back to her, I'm wearing... Oh, wrong lapel. I'm wearing my VE Day lapel badge here. It is, of course, the 80th anniversary of victory in Europe. Interestingly, Isabel, I've heard a lot of people today saying that they're coming in on trains and driving in from all over the country, and they're seeing in rural areas, villages, rural towns, loads of celebrations, flags, street parties, people really going for it. They get to London, nothing. Interesting.
Yeah, do you remember the lovely Nikki from Leeds? That was the lady who...
the Hair's right lady, yeah.
Yeah, who paid the price for the far right riot. She sweetly sent me a picture today of her house covered in Union Jacks, and surprise, surprise, she said it was the only one for a very large radius around in her area. It's mostly people who perhaps don't originate in the UK and probably have no idea, some of them, what VE Day is. So good for those who made a point of it in areas where no one else was.
No, we should get her back on the show. She was a great lady and very badly wronged, as we remember. Before we get to the Nigel Farage story, just very very quickly, you and I last night talked about this police review of what happened in Southport, which concluded, this was a proper official police review, which concluded that the protesters, the rioters, and let's remember, most of them weren't rioters, they were peacefully protesting against the migrant crisis. It concluded that, contrary to what the Prime Minister said, the far-right thugs, kept calling them far-right thugs, it concluded that these protests had nothing to do with the rioters' politics. And they were not organised by extremist political groups, and that everything Keir Starmer said about it was a lie. It wasn't true. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is that we really touched a nerve, because we put it out on Twitter or X, whatever you call it these days, and it's caught fire. I mean, people really responded to that. Unless we forget, while Keir Starmer was busy calling everyone who stepped outside during those dark days far-right thugs, he was ordering the police to go around arresting housewives who put some nasty words on Facebook, and they ended up in jail and things like that. So again, Keir Starmer's characterisation of what went on, and don't forget, he said, they're not protests, they're just thugs, far-right thugs being violent. So not only did the police review of this dark period of time reveal that they were not far-right thugs, it said that the reason they were protests, and they were protesting against political decisions to do with migrants and asylum seekers. So everything Keir Starmer said those riots, those protests were not, they were. He lied, and the police proved it yesterday in an extraordinary report. People really responded to that.
Well, I think the reason people responded to that so strongly is that so many of our listeners, if they weren't on those protests, they kind of sympathised with peaceful protesters. You know, I would quite like to have taken to the streets peacefully to make my feelings known about the appalling things that happened. And I understand why so many ordinary people did take to the streets. And the vast majority of those people didn't do anything violent. Unfortunately, a few of them did, but it was not some kind of organised, highly politicised, party political thing in any shape or form. These were just normal people who are sick, fed up of the impact that mass illegal immigration is having on our country. And they didn't get everything right. And there was some appalling behaviour, and none of us condone any of that. But Keir Starmer totally misrepresented what was going on there. He completely misread it, and I think it will be a long time till that is forgotten, and it will not be forgiven. Exactly right. Now, talking of far right, it wasn't so long ago where Keir Starmer and his crew habitually referred to Reform UK, Nigel Farage, Richard Tubbs, far right, far right, far right. You know, that now they've dropped that, in fairness, because they realise Reform UK have become a very serious party, as Nigel Farage says, arguably the real party of opposition now, with this sweeping of the board in local council elections, 678 new seats or something like that, plus, of course, the Runcorn by-election, an extraordinary political earthquake, and to prove how frightened Labour are, we learned today that on Tuesday night, Pat McFadden, the Cabinet Office Secretary, called MPs, Labour MPs, to a crisis meeting, and he told them that we are in, this is Labour, we are in the fight of our lives. He went on to say that keeping Nigel Farage out of number 10 will be, and I quote, a battle for the very future and heart and soul of our country. Now, these Labour MPs, most of them, are left-wing woke globalists who have systematically, in the past year, to be honest with you, but culturally probably over the past decade or so, destroyed
the heart and soul of our country. They wouldn't know about patriotism if it kicked them in their left-wing backsides, would they?
Well, Pat McFadden is absolutely right that it's a battle for the heart and soul of our country, or rather, I would say it's a battle to save our country. And it gives me considerable pleasure to hear of their panic, because for so long, these people have ignored, belittled, and smeared all the type of ordinary folks who voted for reform last week and who continue to want the things that the Reform Party and other parties, some of them, are proposing. And Labour deserves all it's got on this, and I hope that it will be an absolute battle for the country. I hope that Labour is going to be sent packing, because look, they are destroying our country as we know it. And little wins like they've had today, this US trade deal, which is, such a fanfare about that. There's upsides to that. Great news for Brexit, etc. Doesn't overshadow, it doesn't take away the fundamental fact that things are disintegrating in the UK, and Labour has no idea. This is a party with an MP for Dover who says only Labour will secure our borders. That's all you need to know.
Yeah, exactly right. Tom Harris, former Blairite minister, former Labour MP, no longer in the Commons, he wrote a powerful piece in the Daily Mail yesterday saying that if Labour is in any way to remain a sort of legitimate government, legitimate political force, it needs to get rid of Starmer, and it needs to get rid of him now. And he harked back. He said, I remember Gordon Brown, exactly the same situation. Both men not cut out to be leaders, ideologues, no real humanity about them, no understanding of normal people. Tom Harris said if they don't get rid of Starmer very soon, they're finished.
I actually think Brown was way better than Starmer. I mean, Brown wasn't an immediate disaster. He wasn't a disaster within the first couple of weeks of his government. I mean, he did have a nightmare with an election.
He left it a month, didn't he?
Yeah, he was going to have an election, and then he bottled it, and it did all start going a bit wrong from there. But Brown, remember, didn't lead his party to catastrophic defeat in the sense that then the opposition, the Tories, were only ever able to be part of a coalition. Whereas I think Starmer is leading his party to electoral Armageddon. And for that reason, I'd be very happy if he stays exactly where he is. Unfortunately, however, that would take a tremendously bad toll on the country. So I have to put country first. It would be better if he were ousted, and I think he will be. I think it won't be, though, for at least another year, possibly a year and a half, and then we'll see a Wes Streeting. Or, it occurred to me yesterday that actually Dan Jarvis, someone, there may be someone else that comes out of the woodwork, but it's Starmer cannot win the next election, in my view.
And I can't see anyone in the cabinet to worth replacing him, because I just don't see anyone who would lead forward. So if they do go for someone else, maybe they need to look outside the cabinet, because I can't see anyone in that shower fit to be the Prime Minister, just like Keir Starmer isn't fit to be the Prime Minister. But he is the cross that we have to bear, as they say in Rome. Let's go to break. When we come back, we're going to have to talk about a little bit of... and we're going to have to grudgingly admit that there's been some good news for the government today. There has been a trade deal with America, but there are caveats. So we'll discuss Trump's deal with the UK after this break.
the whole thing is getting quite silly now. I think there's obviously an element of poor public procurement. We know that the government is not very good at actually buying services or goods when it needs to. But I think in general, the whole scale of the increase, in general, the asylum system cost us about £600 million a year in 2019. It's, forecast to hit 6.4 billion a year this year. So there's been a huge increase, a near tenfold increase in the amount we're having to spend. And that is because, as we know, those small boats continue to come across the channel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Brace yourself, Isabel. I'm afraid I'm going to have to play a little bit of footage of Sir Keir Starmer. So take it away, Keir.
We've agreed the basis of a historic economic prosperity deal, and that is a deal that will protect British businesses and save thousands of jobs in Britain. Really important, skilled, well-paid jobs. It will remove tariffs on British steel and aluminium, reducing them to zero. And all of these tariff cuts will come into place as soon as possible. Now, of course, we are the first country to secure such a deal with the United States. And in an era of global insecurity and instability, that is so important. The great challenge of our age is to secure and to renew Britain. And that is what we're going to do. Acting in the national interest, shaping this new era, not being shaped by it. If it's not good for Britain, we won't do it. If it doesn't mean more money in people's pockets, we won't do it. If it doesn't mean security and renewal in every part of the country, we won't do it. We're sending a message to the world that Britain is open for business.
It's Churchillian, isn't it? What an orator he is. Unbelievable.
Who talks like that?
Yeah.
I mean,
Britain.
what is he talking about? Honestly, I'm lost for words as to how that man manages to make something that actually is potentially quite exciting sound so incredibly bureaucratic and dreary. It's really quite an art to be that bad.
Yeah, you're right. He could make a sort of erupting volcano boring, couldn't he?
Yeah.
But let's try and go through. I mean, fair play. This is encouraging, let's put it that way. It involves, as he said, no tariffs on steel. That's very good. Most car tariffs, which were up to 25%, will be reduced to 10%. Aston Martin and Rolls-Royce car parts, I'm not sure if it's cars completely, but they're going to be tariff-free. I assume that's because a lot of rich influential Americans want to buy Aston Martins and Rolls Royces, and aluminium, steel and aluminium will also be tariff free. There are agricultural aspects to this, pharmaceuticals, and so on and so forth. So it adds up to the fact that actually, if you add it all up, our tariffs with America will still be higher than they were before Liberation Day, but they're a lot better than they were yesterday, if you see what I mean. So the unions are hailing this as a good day. A lot of jobs will be saved by this. So, OK, I'm going to say this now. You see these teeth? They're gritted. Credit where it's due. This is quite good, isn't it?
Well, I don't know whether it's quite good.
Thank you. I knew you'd bail me out. Go on. What's bad about it?
I mean, what I would say is it's very good for the principle of Brexit. This sets us on a very different path to the EU. And for that reason, it must be an absolute shocker to so many of Keir Starmer's supporters and the left-wing establishment, because there they were hoping that Starmer, who's repeatedly said he wants indicated he wants a reset with the EU, he wants closer alignment, he has now very firmly set us on a different path because we're tied into these deals. So whether or not we end up being a net beneficiary or whether we end up being slight losers out of it or even heavy losers out of it, I'll tell you one group that are the losers, and that is the Ramonas. I think he's put them out of business.
Yeah, this is what is interesting, isn't it? So yesterday, again, it wasn't exactly perfect. There were some serious drawbacks to the Indian trade deal. As we discussed, the 25%, rather the exemption for Indian workers who come here to work and live exempted from national insurance, which we learned today will cost Britain £200 million in lost tax and set up all sorts of inequalities that are going to cause problems. Employers will want to employ Indian workers over British workers because they're going to be that much cheaper. So there's lots of problems with it, but it is a $5 billion trade deal, and now we've got the American deal. Now what Starmer and the gang will be loath to confess is both of these agreements are because of Brexit.
Well, completely. And that's it now. There's no turning back. You know, we're locked into these deals. We can't now just, you know, rejoin the EU in all but name. And that's a great thing. And, you know, you're right. Starmer has achieved what his predecessors manifestly failed to do. Rishi Sunak would have loved to have been able to deliver a US trade deal, as would certainly Boris Johnson. He would have been over the moon to be able to deliver a US trade deal. I just do have some concerns. You know, you mentioned about the cars. Well, we get to export 100,000 cars at tariffs of 10% instead of what he'd put them up to. But it's worth remembering that pre-Trump, the tariffs were a quarter of that. So people shouldn't get too carried away with that. I'm also very worried, without having looked at the detail, nobody really has yet, who's not been inside the negotiations, about a flood of cheap agricultural products. And what does that mean for our farmers? So it's far from clear who the winners and losers are going to be out of this. But let's not forget, Trump is the arch negotiator, he's the arch deal maker. And I'd be very surprised if he struck a deal that he doesn't think gives his side a bit of an advantage over us.
Yeah, I agree with that, because if there's one thing you know about Keir Starmer, he is the world's lousiest negotiator. He gets a lot of agreements because he caves in.
He's to everything.
Yeah, caves into everything. I mean, this is by no means an ideal deal, but it is better than no deal, to be honest with you. You'd agree with that.
I think it's made us sound like a player. You know, I listen to Trump, you know, he's bigging up our economy, bigging up our importance in the world, and bigging up the special relationship. And it's all too easy for commentators like myself to say, oh, it's all meaningless and it's all negative and America doesn't care about the UK. I think today what happened was that Trump demonstrated that he does care about the UK. And in credit to Starmer, despite the fact that you could hardly get two more different leaders, he has pulled something off.
Yeah, indeed. I'm just reading the Guardian's version. They're sort of a bit like us when we talk about Labour. They're talking about Trump in a really bad way, saying that they don't think this is a good deal, which is interesting, really, because, you know, they're very much the sort of Labour supporting paper. So the Guardian thinks worse of this deal than we do.
These people are in a quandary because their great leader has cozied up to Trump. I mean, I thought it was extraordinary today that Starmer called the president Donald not once, not twice, but 8 times. I mean, have you ever heard a leader call the president Donald? I mean, that was pretty daring. He risked a kind of Zelensky-style dressing down for that informality, but it was clear that is a genuinely pretty positive relationship.
Indeed. What do you think of Donald? I don't know if he's spoken yet, but he'll love the fact that the new Pope is an American, a Chicago native, born in 1955. He'll like that, won't he?
Well, it's been a very, very good day for the Yanks, one way or another, hasn't it?
Are we allowed to call them Yanks anymore? I don't care, but do you think we are?
Why not?
Yeah, yeah. I'm going to bring back. Let's call them the Yanks. Bring back Peking and Kiev. By the way, now that we've got this deal, it'll mean that I can open my restaurant because top of the menu it's going to be chlorinated chicken. Chlorinated chicken Kiev. What do you think?
Lovely. Can't wait for that. You're also going to be able to have, there's going to be some special deals on beef as well, I think.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's an all-round deal that isn't too bad. But as the Tories are pointing out, and indeed the Guardian is pointing it out, that actually, before Trump came along, our deal, our trading relationship with America was better than this, that the tariffs were low.
I know. I mean, this is what brilliant negotiators do. They give you an absolutely horrendous deal and then make it slightly better and then act as if they've given you some wonderful thing. And you're actually left still worse off than you were before. But there we go. I think in the short term, we've got to at least hand it to Starmer that he has pulled this off. And secondly, that the Ramona's dream of going back into the EU is well and truly over. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, all you lefties, the reason we have this deal with America and indeed India is because of Brexit, because we're no longer in that sclerotic waste of space organisation, the European Union. It is simple as that. So that's another good thing. Brexit, I think, is kind of confirmed by this, enshrined, if you like. Isabel, another fantastic week with you. So grateful for all your brilliant stories. We'll do it again. Have a great weekend, and we'll do it again next week. That's Isabel Oakeshott, Talk's brilliant international editor. Now, in a little while, we're going to obviously go to the news. After that, it is my interview with Thomas Markle Jr, Meghan Markle's brother. You will not want to miss it, trust me. He does not mince his words. I'll be back to introduce it after the news, and then we'll go over to Tom. So stick around for that.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This
Welcome back. Now, in about half an hour, we'll be doing Call Dr. Renee, GP extraordinaire, Renee Hunderkamp, in the studio, answering all your medical questions. You know the drill. If you've got health issues, you can't get to see your GP, you've got NHS problems, you're unhappy with your treatment, maybe you just don't feel very well, you're not feeling good. It doesn't have to be you. It could be a loved one, a relative, or a friend. Call Dr. Renee on 034 0444 499 1000. She's here to help. But before Renee comes into the studio, we're going to play now what I think is a remarkable interview. I conducted it earlier, and it's with Thomas Markle Jr. That is Meghan Markle's estranged brother. You know that while she whitters on about, I love my family, I love my husband and my children, she doesn't love her real family, her brother, her sister, her father. She has ruthlessly cut them out of her life, including Thomas. Now, Thomas Jr., along with the rest of us, watched Harry's interview on the BBC last Friday after he lost that armed police protection case that he wasted so much time and money on. He was always going to lose it. But Thomas watched that interview, along with the rest of us, with an increasing sense of astonishment. I sat down with him earlier today. Here is my interview. Thanks very much for joining us. Now, you join us just a few days after Prince Harry gave that extraordinary interview to the BBC last Friday after he's lost his long-running legal battle to get armed police protection when he comes to Britain. My interpretation of that, and I'm not alone, was he gave that interview, he blamed everyone, it's conspiracy theories, it's my dad, it's the government, nothing is my fault. He was like a spoilt brat throwing his toys out of the pram because he didn't get what he wanted. Now, the other thing I took from that was this guy, Harry. I thought he seemed in despair. I thought he seemed lost. I thought he seemed lonely, very sad, and also I thought he seemed psychiatrically dubious. I thought he needs psychiatric help. The level of his paranoia was astonishing. Paranoid about everything. Now, my question to you is, he didn't used to be like that. He used to be a happy-go, carefree, popular guy. He's turned into a misery guts who thinks the whole world's against him, lashes out angrily all the time. My question to you, Tom, is do you think your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry?
Well, let me answer that real quick for you. The answer is yes. And I could not agree with you more on everything you just said. I was watching this interview just thinking to myself, this poor man. And it just continues and continues and continues. And he's going deeper and deeper and deeper. And I do believe, you know, Meghan is driving this whole caravan for him. He is so stressed out. You can see it in his face. Despair. He's confused. He doesn't know what to say. He thinks he's going to get in trouble if he doesn't say exactly what Meghan says. Apparently, in my opinion, of course, but very sad to watch. And I think it was a desperate, desperate plea because they've made their beds for the last 6 years, and now they're sleeping on them, and the entire world knows exactly what's happening with those two.
Yeah, we think here in Britain, and I know a lot of Americans agree, because that interview was watched all over the world, that, what is it, in 5-6 years, Meghan has changed Harry, and she hasn't changed him for the better. She's changed him for the worse. What do you think she's done to him, Tom?
Well, I think it's a combination of a few things. In my opinion, I think that Meghan is playing this whole entire her life, scripted, produced, acted by her, all on her dime or whatever. She's playing this fantasy life out in her own mind, where it comes to where, let me get to this in 1 second, but it comes to where she wants to be Diana so bad. It's kind of freaky and kind of scary. And when Harry mentioned on that interview, right off the bat, some people in the royal family, and I'm not going to say who they are, they want us dead.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah,
that right there, red flags everywhere.
Yeah, it's off the scale deranged, I think. I mean, and he, as I say, he's very, very paranoid, very miserable, very lost. Do you sense, as I sensed, that underneath all this, he knows he's kind of wrecked his own life. He's been lured away from what he was born to, and that is to be a Prince of Britain, to be a part of the royal family. She's taking him over to California, and he's a ship adrift. He's got no purpose. He's got no direction home. His family don't talk to him. She has ruined him, and he's chipped in and ruined himself. Do you think?
I absolutely agree with you on all those points. I've watched Harry's downfall from the very, very beginning. When they first turned on me personally and my family, and I wrote him that letter still stands in concrete today. He should have listened, because everything since that point has gone downhill, and he's become less and less and less of a man continuously every month, every year. It's so obvious who's driving Harry and making him do these things. Listen, he wrote a book. He totally attacked the monarchy, totally attacked William and Catherine. Meghan is so jealous of Catherine. It's very, very scary. It's actually very creepy. And I don't know where this whole thing is going, but it's not going very well for either of them. And then they get on there and they complain, saying their lives are threatened. They want them dead. Poor me. I lost this. How am I going to pay for my own legal bills? Everything is like, they create all these problems like narcissists do. And then they blame everybody else. And it's always somebody else's fault. Now Harry has fallen into a major category of Meghan's narcissism.
Yes, a good point. Now, I want to get onto the issue of safety, Harry's obsession with his own safety and his family's safety in a minute, because we need to talk about your safety. We need to talk about your dad's safety and your sister's safety. We'll do that in a second. But first, let's talk about the implications of what Harry said in that interview. He said, because they won't give me armed police protection, that means I won't ever be able to bring my children, Archie and Lilibet, and indeed my wife, my family, back to Britain ever again. And therefore, King Charles will never see his grandchildren again. Does that ring a bell with you? Meghan won't let you see your nephews and won't let your dad see his beloved grandchildren. He's never seen them. What is it about this couple that they send their loving grandfathers of their kids into despair? Why won't Meghan let your dad see his grandchildren? Why won't Harry let his dad see his grandchildren? Because it sort of pitches your dad, Thomas Sr., and the King together. They're in the same boat here, and it's kind of sad and almost sinister as well, I think.
Yeah, well, you really touched on a very interesting subject there, Kevin, about these children. The controversy is just endless on this whole entire thing, between the moon bump theory and the surrogacy and everything else like that. I don't know. My father doesn't know. I don't think anybody knows if those children are legitimate or surrogates or what. Nobody really knows. No. But for Meghan and Harry to use these kids as pawns, totally just, blindsiding their theories about child safety on social media. Now they're using the kids as pawns. They've been using the kids for pawns for years. My father has already given up. And it says, I'm never going to meet those kids. King Charles is never going to meet those children, ever. I don't know. And using the kids as pawns, as a bargaining chip, what is wrong with people? I just don't get it. That's like, family is family. Everybody has a right to meet and be involved with their entire family, unless there's some serious screws loose or somebody has something wrong upstairs, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah. What about Harry when he said I mean, he's, as you just alluded to, ridiculously, ludicrously, he suggested that his father, the king, is in some kind of conspiracy theory with shadowy figures in our government, and they're conspiring to keep him unsafe. They want him dead. Ridiculous, ludicrous, mad, insane. But he also says that what he doesn't want is for history to repeat itself. As if he brings the family back to Britain, if he brings the kids and Meghan back to Britain, somehow or other they'll be killed or they'll die in the way that Princess Diana did in that tunnel in Paris all those years ago. I mean, that is demented, isn't it?
Yes, just like we were talking about before, where I mentioned this is Meghan's fantasy movie playing out in her mind. And Harry's a pawn. Harry's like, you know, Harry, I need you to go on this interview and say exactly this and don't screw up. This is exactly what I want you to say. I think she's playing this out in her whole mind because apparently, you know, she's mentioned to everybody that she talks to Diana in the grave, right? She's obsessed with Diana. She's ordered websites and bought domains prior to even meeting Prince Harry. You know, it's just, so she's playing this whole thing out.
In your mind then, Tom, you know your sister, and I agree with your interpretation. I think it's very plausible. You reckon that when Harry did that interview with the BBC last Friday, right after he lost that case here in London, that Meghan would have given him the script?
Absolutely. You know, this is my opinion, of course. And I do believe, you know, Harry's been led along and told what to do. I mean, every single interview, every single picture, every place they go, Meghan grabs him. Meghan controls him. Meghan tells him no. Meghan stands in front of him. She controls every single situation like she is the star. And she's turned a prince, Prince Harry, she's turned Prince Harry into a man of non-substance who's just there as a prop in a movie, you know, for her own well-being. It's
more of this after this break.
The whole thing is getting quite silly now. I think there's obviously an element of poor public procurement. We know that the government is not very good at actually buying services or goods when it needs to. But I think in general, the whole scale of the increase, in general, the asylum system cost us about £600 million a year in 2019. It's, forecast to hit 6.4 billion a year this year. So there's been a huge increase, a near tenfold increase in the amount we're having to spend. And that is because, as we know, those small boats have continued to come across the channel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, earlier today I sat down with Thomas Markle Jr, Meghan Markle's brother, for an exclusive interview, and it continues now. You know, it's interesting, Tom. I said this a few days ago on air. I said, with Meghan, your sister, it's like she's playing a part that she doesn't really get humanity, how to be a normal human being, but she sort of reads up about it. She looks in from outside the human race and then acts out what she thinks she ought to do. Oh, I really love my kids. Oh, my husband really loves me. Oh, he's a fox. Isn't everything wonderful? I've never been happier in my life. What about that? 1 week before Harry revealed himself in that BBC interview to be extraordinarily unhappy, Meghan announced she's never been happier in her life. What is that all about? Does she even care that her husband is in despair?
No, I don't believe she cares one bit. And that reminds me of something else. On social media, I have never in my life seen anybody post 50 plus things online about themselves, and it's very creepy. It's like she's trying to sell herself to herself. She is the only one. She probably looks at everything she posts that she pays for, all these positive things. Oh, me and Harry this, me and Harry that. Oh, my kids this, my kids that. Oh, we're happily in love. It's really creepy.
Yeah, what do you make, Tom, of the fact, she's posting all this? My family, I love my family, I love my husband, my kids, my family, my family, my family. What about your side of the family? She's not so loving towards you, towards your father, and towards your sister Samantha, is she? How can she sit there saying, I so love my family, my family love me, and ruthlessly cut you, Tom Sr. and Samantha out of her life?
Well, gosh, I'm just going to have to touch on something here for a second. May have something to do with like her mom cooking bath salts on the first episode of her cooking show. I don't know. but there's something seriously wrong. Yeah. How's your dad? I mean, I post that so many times. How's dad doing, Meghan? She doesn't care. She will pretend in her mind that none of us exist, just like she did from the very beginning, just to cover the lies that she told Harry and the royal family, all about us. This goes back, 6 years, right before the wedding, or whatever it is. But
yeah. When you see the way she's behaving now, and I think over the past few months, she's become more manic than she ever was before, with all this her ambitions to become a billionaire, as ever. That dreadful podcast series she's doing right now, Confessions of a Female Founder, giving all these interviews. When you see the way she's behaving now, she seems manipulative, as you say. She seems to be almost controlling Harry like a puppet on a string. She's very scheming. Do you recognise that? Did you see that side of her when you were younger, when you were growing up with her, when she was a kid?
A couple little things here and there, like the attitude, a little bit of the snarling attitude was there. And I've got quite a few videos that I'm going to start sharing, by the way, online and on my channel. But it really started evolving when she left Northwestern and went to Canada. My dad specifically said one day that the way that she talked to my father he knew it was over. He didn't know his daughter anymore because she talked down to him like he was nothing. So this was all built up, and it was all around probably the Soho stuff when she started hanging out with Anderson and the Soho Club and all that. That's when she talked down to my father like he was nothing. She obviously didn't need him anymore at that point.
Yeah, so what you're saying is as she began to become famous and to taste fame and fortune, it was almost as if she didn't need you guys anymore, didn't need her loving father anymore, the guy who worked 70 hours a week to help her launch her career, sent her to acting school, gave her the best education possible. She didn't need him anymore and dropped him like a stone, right?
Yeah, and then told so many lies to the entire world continuously about working hard and putting yourself through college, how we were so poor growing up and rubbing the 2 nickels together at the Sizzler salad bar. It's endless. And she was a poor orphan. She never had a family, when it's all the complete opposite. Everything she says is the complete opposite.
So your dad knew then, when she went to Canada to film Suits, to live in Canada. Your dad knew then, Vancouver, wasn't it? Your dad knew then that he was losing her because of her attitude.
Yeah, and then the other point that we want to make on this is when Trevor called my father crying when he received the ring back in the mail from Megan. He had no idea what was going on. He had no idea what he'd done. Trevor worshipped her. He loved her, gave her everything that he could possibly give her. And then the ring comes back in the mail.
I know.
And Trevor.
But you were quite friendly with Trevor, weren't you?
Yeah, I met Trevor a few times. And the last time I met him was at my grandmother's memorial. But he's a great guy. I mean, he worshipped the ground that she walked on. And she took every advantage of him that she could possibly take. And then, quite simply, when she didn't need him anymore, he was done. And
that must have devastated him.
Yeah, that would devastate anybody, especially when you give your heart and soul to somebody and, you know, you speak with them and you talk to them, you sleep with them, they're your partner, your companion, and then they just, everything that they've told you isn't true one day, and it's all over forever, you know? So it was basically a stepping stone. So that's when my father knew that there was not, like, I don't know my daughter anymore.
How is your dad feeling now? I mean, every day in every way, Megan's in all of our faces, if you know what I mean. I mean, you can't escape her. Every time he sees her in the press or hears about her, must be a painful reminder to him that, you know, once she was his little girl, his beloved little girl, and they were very close, weren't they? And now she, as you said, she almost refuses to admit he even exists, cut him off, you know, like a stone. How does Tom feel about that?
He went through a few years of serious adjustment. Now I think he's resigned to the fact where he's just kind of like, you know, he doesn't really look at it that much anymore. He doesn't really pay attention to that much anymore. And I think he does it for his own benefit, because that was a long healing process for him, especially when after the heart attack and the stroke, and there were still no communications or no care whatsoever, no text, no call from her whatsoever at all. And like I said, a few years of adjustment, a few years of just getting over things. But I'm pretty sure it really still bothers him.
Harry, in this interview on Friday, said, "I didn't choose this life, you know, to be a royal." Well, of course he didn't. He was born, happened to be a royal. You guys, your dad, your sister, you didn't choose this life either, did you? You didn't choose to be the relations, the family of Meghan Markle, and that's compromised your safety, hasn't it?
My father was invited to the coronation, and Meghan said no. Meghan said no to other visits where the Queen Act specifically said, you know, it'd be good if your family was here, and no, or your father's not here, no, it's not going to happen. And you really never know. These people who chase you around and take your pictures, they compromise your safety. There's like the element of the Sussex Squad, These are dangerous people who just worship Meghan and the ground she walks on. You know, these people are dangerous. Death threats to Samantha, myself, my father, and they go after anybody who says anything bad about Meghan.
Well, that was most of my interview with Thomas Markle Jr. We're going to play you some more of it after 9 o'clock, after we've done our friend here, Dr. Renee Hundekamp, but we're going to do Call Dr. Renee in just a minute, and then after 9 p.m. we'll be joined by Kinsey Schofield. We'll go through some more of what Thomas Markle had to say to me, get Kinsey's reaction. I'm very interested to hear from all of you as well. I think you'll agree that's pretty bombshell stuff. There's more of it after the 9 o'clock news, but when we come back after this break, we're going to switch straight to our regular feature on a Thursday night, Call Dr. Renee, GP extraordinaire Renee Hundekamp in the studio answering all your medical questions, all of your health issues. So call Dr. Renee on 0344 499 1000. She's here to help. Back in a mo.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. As I said, later in the show, after the 9 o'clock news, more of Thomas Markle, and we'll go across to the west coast of America to talk to our royal guru, Kinsey Schofield, to get her reaction. Very interested to hear what you thought of that. I agree with Tom that what we saw last Friday with Prince Harry was a man in the depths of some kind of paranoid despair. Somebody who definitely, in my view, needs psychiatric help. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Dr. Renee Hundekamp is in the studio. It's called Dr. Renee. 0344 499 1000. She's here to help, and let's hope she can help our first caller. It's Gary. He's a new caller. Welcome, Gary. Gary from Basildon in Essex. Talk to Dr. Renee, Gary.
Hello, Gary. How can I help?
Dr. Renee. Well, I don't know if you can give me peace of mind, really.
Okay, I'll try.
I had a cataract operation on May the 1st.
Okay.
And I was the first one in the operating theatre that morning, laid on the operating table, and they said to me, it could be 25, 30 minutes,
yeah,
and it'll all be over. it went wrong, and I was on the table for an hour and a half.
Oh my God.
Okay. Do you know what went wrong?
Because I've had 2 triple heart bypasses. They said my blood thinned and I hemorrhaged.
Okay.
So I'm now blind in my right eye.
Okay.
So they rushed me. An ambulance came from another nearby hospital that rushed me into the heart department there. And then they rushed me to another hospital further. So I've been to 3 hospitals since May the 1st.
Okay, so first question, did they actually change your lens?
The doctor said he actually got the cataract out. That's why it went on so long, he said. He said because he was trying to get it out so hard, I hemorrhaged because I'm on warfarin tablets.
Okay, so I presume they should have known that before you went in.
Right, he said your INR should have been 3.4,
Yeah.
but it was only 2.2.
Oh, well, that's better. That should mean that you bleed less.
That's what he said, it was 2.2.
Yeah, so did they actually change it? Have you got a new lens in?
No, they rung me up. Because what happened was they sent me to the other hospital on Tuesday, took me in with my son. They said, worst news, it's not going to get any better. Prepare for the worst. Came home. And then they called us back in yesterday morning, and we saw the top man in hospital, a very nice man, and they was both looking at the data and what have you that they'd done the day before. And my son said, and they said in front of my son, it's a slight improvement.
Okay.
There's a slight improvement.
So I guess, look, it's very hard for me because this is very specialist and I don't know what's gone on inside your eye, obviously, or during the operation. But I think, obviously, they're the best people to advise you. But I would assume that at some point they'll try and put a lens in there because without a lens, even if the blood clears, which your body's very good at getting rid of blood, even if the blood clears, you're not going to be able to focus. So I would be asking the question of, are you going to put the lens in at some point?
Right, they phoned up this morning and said, we want you in on Tuesday.
Okay.
To put a new lens in.
There you go.
And I can't even open my eye though. So what happens? That's what I wanted to ask you. What happens?
They will open your eye for you. They'll just
will they?
Yeah, they'll just put clamps to hold back the lids.
So they're telling you, Gary, that that if all goes well, and obviously we hope it does, that you will get your sight back, as Renee said, if they put a lens in. That, so your blindness in that eye is temporary.
Right.
Hopefully. I mean, I would let them get the lens in, and then your body is very good at clearing what's called a hematoma, a collection of blood, but it can take quite some time.
Right, doctor, right, okay.
Can I ask you a question, Gary? It's a very technical medical question. Does it hurt?
Absolute agony, Doctor Kevin.
Oh, my God.
It's gone from agony to painful. It is decreasing.
Well, I don't want to rub salt into your wound, but there's nothing worse than eyes hurting, is there? Maybe teeth and eyes are the worst things.
It makes all your jaw hurt, your nose, your ears, everything. The first 2 or 3 days, I couldn't sleep because I couldn't get in one position for more than 10 minutes. I kept changing position.
Well, it sounds like it's getting better, which is a good sign.
Yeah, that's what I said yesterday, Doctor, yes.
So it sounds as if next Tuesday you have cause to be very optimistic, and you think... Go on.
One question. I know you're busy. One question.
Go for it.
Is it going to hurt when I open my eye again, or will they?
Well, I think they'll numb it up.
To sleep?
Well, they'll either put you to sleep or they'll numb the eye up with anaesthetic drops. One or the other.
Can I ask to be put to sleep? Or can I? Or
I
will they
don't
let
know
me off?
because I don't know what facilities they've got and whether they do that. So I'd be, obviously you can always ask to be put to sleep, but it depends if they've got general anaesthetic facilities there.
And what do you reckon, before you go, Gary? Yeah, I bet you are. But what kind of recovery time will we normally be talking about?
So cataracts actually over a 6-week period, you have a series of steroid drops and other drops to just help your eye heal, and then by 6 weeks things are looking pretty good. But I think you've had a complication, so it's difficult to predict how long that's going to be.
Right. And this is NHS, is it, Gary?
Yes, yeah, the nurses
well, listen.
They was holding my hand, stroking my arm. They was excellent.
That's what nurses should do.
Yeah, and listen. A lot of people they wait and wait for cataract operations, and they don't happen, and they go blind. Right. So I know you're going through some agony now, and it's all very worrying, but trust me, you are doing a lot better than a lot of cataract patients with the NHS. So, count your lucky stars, Gary, seriously. And all the best for next Tuesday. I'm sure it's going to be brilliant.
Good luck,
Thank you very much, Dr. Kelly.
Good to talk to you. Gary in Basildon, Essex, promoting me, Dr. Kevin. Kevin there. Do you hear that? Thank you very much, Kevin. Right, let's...
You can identify as a doctor.
I'm identifying as a GP. Yeah, there you go. Right, let's go back to the phone. Let's talk to Kenneth in Preston. Hi, Kenneth. Talk to the doctor.
All right.
Hi, Ken.
No, it's Kevin.
Oh.
Yeah, you're Kevin.
Yes.
Oh, it says Kenneth.
Sorry, it says Kenneth.
I have a little note here of the callers, and they've obviously misheard you. So, welcome, Kevin. Great name, by the way. Talk to the doctor.
Hello.
Yeah, I've been to the doctors, and I've had a poo test, and they found blood in the poo.
Okay.
Also, I've been diagnosed with myasthenia gravis in January. Which a muscle weakening disease.
It is, and it affects your eyelids, does it, by the end of the day?
Well, I'm in hospital for 25 days, but I'm on the steroids. Well, the question is, could steroids and blood thinners affect this poo, blood in the poo?
So not the steroids, but the blood thinners, yes. So one of the things that we ask people to look out for when they're on blood thinners is, or something that could make them bleed, is their poo. Is their poo getting darker? Is there any blood in their poo? Now, the thing to know about the poo test, this is the FIT test that people take for cancer, Kevin. And if it detects blood, you then have to go on to have a colonoscopy to see what it is that's causing that. Of all of the people that get blood in their poo test, who then go on to have the further test, only 1 in 10, so 10%, have something bad going on. So the chances are 9 out of 10 people don't have anything bad going on. So you've got more chance of that than something bad.
Well, they told me I was fast track, and I'm going on Monday, not just for a consultation.
Yeah. So that's the fast track that we always do if somebody comes up positive in their FIT test. But don't panic by that, because as I said, there's a 90% chance that there'll be nothing bad going on. And as you're on blood thinners, there's quite a high chance that it will be that.
Right. Okay.
All right, Kevin.
All right.
All the best. Look after yourself. Thank you very much for the call, Kevin in Preston. Well, we're motoring through them today. Let's go. Another new caller. Love a new caller. This is Lee from Leicester. Hello, Lee. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Lee.
Hello. Thank you very much. I love your show.
Thank you.
It's all right. Watch it all day. Yeah, I've got cirrhosis of the liver.
Right.
I'm an alcoholic.
Okay.
So I don't know, anything for anything like that. But I've got toilets. I don't eat much. I've got toilet. I'm bleeding blood as well.
Okay.
And a lot of it. I found out I've got cirrhosis of the liver.
So how long have you been having blood in your poo for?
About 2 years.
Okay, and has that been checked out in the past?
Only through stool samples.
But then what's happened when the stool sample comes back with blood in?
They found that there's blood in the stool, but obviously I can't go for scans and that because I'm an alcoholic. You have to fast, don't you? Stuff like that.
Well, yeah, you would have to have a colonoscopy because you'd have sedation.
You still drinking, Lee?
Yes, I am. Yes, I'm still drinking, Kev. Yeah.
Well. Would that is that wise if you've got cirrhosis of the liver?
It's not, but then I'm going to say this. Going to say this. When people are alcoholics, they can't stop drinking suddenly. You can actually die from stopping drinking.
Yeah.
So it's not as simple. Yeah. So I always stress to people that whilst you should slowly try and reduce, obviously, never stop drinking because it's the most serious addiction. It's not like a drug addiction where you'll just go cold turkey and come through it. Alcohol can kill you if you stop drinking. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Because I say the men should have gone scan for my liver.
Well, you can have scans without fasting, Kevin.
No, that's Lee.
Sorry, this is Lee. I apologise, Lee. We're doing well on our names tonight. Me and the other doctor over there.
Yeah. I got told by doctors that I can't go fast for 6 hours for a liver scan for the hospital.
Okay. I'm not sure about that. I don't think you do. I think they're being particularly pernickety and they could, for you, allow you not to. But it's difficult, isn't it? Because, you know, if you've got bleeding from the bowel, I mean, there's every chance that the drinking is doing that because the drinking can interfere with your liver, which it is because you've got cirrhosis. That then actually can change your clotting cascade. So, again, you can actually bleed because your blood doesn't clot as it should normally because you're interfering with all your liver enzymes. The liver's a really important organ.
Can you recover from sclerosis?
So you can't undo normally the damage that's been done, but you can stop it progressing.
Yeah.
Are you under any drug and alcohol programs to help you stop drinking, or have you tried it many times?
I've tried it twice, detox.
Yeah.
And I'm back on Turning Point in Leicester, so
it's hard, isn't it? How old are you?
I'm 50.
You're young.
Yeah, not long left. But
well, how long you have left is in part up to you, isn't it? Because if you can get on a programme and work to a point where you're not drinking, then you can sort all these problems out.
So I could private, that's cost a fortune.
No, I didn't say private. I just...
No, I'm saying that. I said I've tried to go private and it costs a fortune.
Well, you're looking at about 25 to 30,000 for an inpatient stay, I know.
Lots of time, yeah. So, great.
Oh,
all right, Lee.
I wish you luck.
Yeah, look after yourself, eh?
Yeah, I love you both, mate. Great.
Yeah, well, keep tuning in to talk. That'll help you out, I'm sure.
Every morning, mate. Mike and Greg the best. From you.
Yeah, Mike and me.
Lee, just a tiny bit less every day.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I honestly know how hard it is.
Yeah, I don't eat much neither. I don't eat much.
Well, that's quite common with people who are alcoholics. You can do joint programmes with your GP where they prescribe you Librium, chloride epoxide, which replaces the alcohol, so that you can slowly wean down on that. There are programmes like that in the community.
Right. I'll speak to doctors tomorrow. But my doctor's shut in the afternoon, Thursday afternoons.
What? They're not allowed to do that anymore?
Ain't not?
No.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's right. Yeah. For training.
No.
Training?
Oh.
Well, your doctor's going for training. I'll get a new doctor if I were you, mate.
That might be a bit of a wheeze, because they used to just shut on a Thursday or Wednesday afternoon for nothing, and then they were told they couldn't, so it sounds like they've found a way around it.
When you find your GP is closed on a Thursday afternoon, I would advise you to go and check out the local pub, but given your circumstance, Lee, don't do that.
He's incorrigible.
But listen, seriously, Lee, thank you for calling, and I hope it all works out. Keep in touch. Look after yourself and keep tuning in to talk. A great call. Thank you very much, mate. Lee in Leicester.
I cannot stress what an evil addiction alcohol is. And there are people who think...
Tell me about it. No, I'm joking.
There are people who think, oh, well, they should just stop drinking. It's just not that easy.
Yeah, I mean, it is an extraordinary thing, isn't it? That you know, I mean, I don't actually drink all that much these days, but I've always drunk quite a lot, along with my mates like Mike Graham and all that. But it's never been a hint of an addiction. You know,
but when it is, it's
but you know what I mean? It's loads of people can drink pretty consistently, sometimes quite heavily, and it's not an addiction. Other people, it becomes
There's a very good
compulsive.
There's a very good book called The Addictive Personality.
Yeah.
And when you read that, you understand so much.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of colleagues when I was on Fleet Street and that, you know, at one point drinking the same amount as me, and then you see them going downhill and turning into your classic alcoholics, whereas the rest of us, I mean, in my day on Fleet Street, it was heavy drinking, but we were fortunate enough to not be the addictive type.
The problem nowadays, of course, is that cocaine is so rife that what alcoholics tend to do is they hit the cocaine, that keeps them awake for 24 hours, and they just drink more and more and more and more. And it's a cycle of addiction, drugs and alcohol.
Oh, that's very bad. Cocaine and alcohol, don't do that. Just say no. Let's go to a break, and when we come back, more calls for Dr. Renee. Stay where you are.
the whole thing is getting quite silly now. I think there's obviously an element of poor public procurement. We know that the government is not very good at actually buying services or goods when it needs to. But I think in general, the whole scale of the increase, you know, in general, the asylum system cost us about £600 million a year in 2019. It's, you know, forecast to hit 6.4 billion a year this year. So there's been a huge increase, a near tenfold increase in the amount we're having to spend. And that is because, as we know, those small boats have continued to come across the channel.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. By the way, you know, there's a new Pope, Pope Leo, right?
Yeah.
If anybody's interested, the Pope, their salary is $32,000 American dollars a month. $32,000 a month.
Why do they even need a salary? They live in luxury.
Well, they've got a good gig, haven't they? You know.
They live in luxury. They get all their food and lodgings. They never go anywhere outside of papal duties.
They're running a big church. They're not going to do it for free, are
Why
they?
do they need a salary?
They're not simple men, you know. You know this last one. What's the last one called? Francis.
Francis.
Yeah, there's this humble man, didn't take his salary. Apparently it was paid into some kind of family. I was like, a simple man lived a simple life. He had 5 cars. All of them, no doubt, chauffeur driven.
And a Pope.
But I don't think the Pope should be a simple man. He is in charge of a massive church. And this guy, Robert Provost, isn't it, has just become one of the most important people on earth. Whatever you think about the church, the Pope is a very, very influential person. So it bears talking about. We'll be talking about the Pope in about 3/4 of an hour. We'll analyse him and we'll tell you his life story. Fascinating. His first American Pope, Donald Trump, posting how proud he is for what an honour for the country. And it looks as if Donald Trump recently contributed $14 million to the Catholic Church, which is interesting. And this new Pope from Chicago, born in 1955, is a fully, or I don't know if he still is, but he was a fully paid up member of the Republican Party. Interesting. We'll talk about that a bit later. Anyway, let's go back to the phones. Call Dr. Renee. This is Karen in Bristol. Hello, Karen. Talk to the doctor.
Hello.
Hello, Karen. Hi. How can I help?
I still got a blood clot in my leg.
You've still got one?
Have you spoken to us before, Karen?
No.
Oh, okay.
So how long have you had your blood clot?
It was always too late.
Oh, okay. Well, you got us now. How long have you had your blood clot?
So I start from the beginning.
Yeah. Talk to the doctor.
For 25 years, I had a stomach ache and was told it was irritable bowel, but it wasn't. And I finally had an MRI scan, and they showed a stone the size of an orange and hundreds of little ones in my pancreas.
Okay.
I had to have my pancreas out.
I would think so.
Yeah, they took it out, and then I got epilepsy, and I had my left leg was in agony, and it turns out the blood clot, and I had to have an operation on my leg where they cut the leg open completely and put one stitch in, and now I'm left with this blood clot. And I had a scan 3 years ago, and it showed, when I seen it, it was like spider's legs, like holding it in place. So I'm just worried that it's going to break, and I don't know what's going to happen.
Okay. I mean, this obviously for me, Carol, is nearly impossible because it sounds like you've had medical input. This has been going on for a very long time. Have they put you on blood thinners?
The only thing I got is aspirin.
Okay, I mean, none of this sounds like the normal treatment for a blood clot, to be honest with you, because if you have a blood clot, If it's what we call a provoked blood clot, so that we know what caused it, i.e. surgery, being in a cast, having a cancer treatment, that kind of thing, I
haven't had any of that.
No, I'm just saying that if we know what caused it, then we tend to put you on blood thinners for a set amount of time and then take you off. If we don't know what caused it, you tend to be on blood thinners for life and not aspirin, other ones. So I think that's the first question I would be asking. I would be going back.
No, I got 22 prescriptions of tablets I got to take.
Blimey.
But not one of them is for a blood thinner.
You're sure of that, are you?
Yes.
Okay, because sometimes
and when
people
I speak to my doctor about it, it's like, yeah, all right.
Okay. I think you need to maybe change your doctor or go back to your doctor, Carol, but it's very difficult for me to input here, but you should be on a blood thinner, that's all I could say.
Yeah. It's like when I had my pancreas out, they left me.
Okay.
And I was having hypers everywhere.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear
and
that.
Nobody told me.
Sounds like you need to change your doctor, Carol, to one who pays you more attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Not much we could do for you there, Karen.
much.
Except wish you all the best, Karen.
Take care.
Thanks for ringing. Karen in Bristol. That's a shame. Poor lady. We haven't got too long. It's been a very truncated, shortened Dr. Renee. I've squashed her tonight, but because Thomas Markle cropped up and we thought we ought to run that. So apologies, Dr. Renee, and apologies to all the people who tried to get through, but we can probably squeeze in at least one more, maybe two more calls. This is Paul from Colchester. Paul, talk to Dr. Renee.
Hello, Paul. How can I help?
Are you there? Paul? Paul's gone. Paul, are you there? Oh, no, OK. We'll go to Norrie in Glasgow. Hello, Norrie. Talk to Dr. Renee.
Hi, Norrie.
Hi, thank you very much for taking my call.
How can I help?
I just come in the car here in the last 15 minutes. Very interesting subject that these people are calling in and they're putting their hands out to reach out for some help. And the reason why I gave you a wee call tonight was 5 years ago, I was sitting at home and I had a very, very bad cough 2 days prior to this. And my wife says, you need to go and do something with this. And I passed out. She phoned an ambulance, took me to the hospital, and I was put in a coma for 6 weeks.
Oh, my goodness.
6 weeks?
What happened?
Multiple organ failure.
Why? Did you have sepsis?
No, see the thing, I thought I choked. I was in, this is not that important, I was sitting having a cup of tea with a piece of toast, and I thought I maybe choked on it.
It's not going to cause multiple organ failure.
Yeah, but I don't know. So anyway, so what happened was I went in the hospital. I was in that induced coma for 6 weeks. Then when I came out of the coma, thank you God, I was in intensive care then for a further 6 weeks. Then what happened was a double kidney failure, complete kidney failure, and I was put on dialysis for that there. And you know something, Kevin and Doctor, see through the whole program, I didn't know what was happening to me. It was just the family sitting okay.
How old are you, Norrie?
I'm 62 now, Kevin.
62 or 60? Yeah.
62.
62, right, yeah.
Yeah. And I'll tell you what the reason why I gave you a call, Doctor, was the only problem I've had since, from my knees down to my feet, there's just constant pains of pins and needles, as if I'm walking my bare feet in gravel. And I knew her name, but my doctor did call it something, I can't remember. And she says, it's incurable, it's nerve damage, it'll never be cured. And I'm going to tell you, maybe I shouldn't say this on air, but I've actually been thinking about getting both of my legs amputated.
Oh, don't be.
Oh my God!
Don't do that. Honestly.
No, seriously, no, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's that painful and that uncomfortable, yeah.
So.
Kevin, honestly, and I don't even go anywhere. I've got 6 grandkids as well. They're all lovely, and I don't go anywhere with them anymore. They come to visit me because I think I'm just a nuisance.
Oh, I'm sure you're not a nuisance.
You're not a nuisance. Sorry. Any advice, Doctor?
So, vitamin B12. You need to get your vitamin B12 checked and get it up nice and high. Get yourself a vitamin B12 supplement or a B complex supplement anyway, but get that tested. That's really important.
Sorry for interrupting. Carry on. Sorry.
Make sure it's not coming from your back, your lower back, because even though it's in your lower legs, it could actually be sciatica. So for that, she could do an MRI scan.
Yeah.
And make sure that it's not coming from your back.
Well, doctor, I've checked all that. I've got to go through haematology. I go there once a month to have withdraw a pint of blood from my body.
Have you got hemochromatosis?
Yeah.
Ah, Scottish, the Celtic curse.
Oh, what's that mean?
Stores too much iron and it gives... maybe that's why you had multi-organ failure.
Too much whiskey and too much. You know something? I'm not even a drink. I don't even drink. I've never had a glass of
No, it's not about drink. It's a genetic issue, and you lay down too much iron. So that could have damaged your peripheral nerves, and if it has, I'm afraid there's very little we can do. But I would still get your vitamin B checked and take a supplement, and I wish you much luck.
You too. Hey, thanks very much.
Hey, Norrie, good to talk to you. You look after yourself
Take
now.
care,
Thank you very much for the phone call. We're nearly over now, so very sorry. Stuart in Suffolk was waiting on the line. Out of interest, he says, alcoholic intake, what's the norm?
Under 14 units a week.
OK, what's a unit?
A unit is like a very, very small glass of wine.
Or something like that.
Very small.
There you go, Stuart. Sorry we couldn't get to you, but normal intake 14 units or less. A unit is a small glass of wine. There you are. Dr. Renee, thank you. Brilliant. As always, Dr. Renee Hunderkap will be back this time next week, 8 o'clock on Thursday, with another Call Dr. Renee. When we come back after the news, we're going to Kinsey Schofield, but we'll also be playing more of my interview, my exclusive interview with Thomas Markle Jr., Meghan's brother. Stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on YouTube, on the app, on your mobile, the home of common sense. This is...
Welcome back. Now, we're going to continue with the royal theme. After I've spoken to Kinsey Schofield, who will be joining me in just a second, we're going to listen to a little bit of the kind of rest of my interview with Thomas Markle Jr. And then later, we'll talk about a few other issues as well with Kins. And then after that, We're going to talk to Claire Muldoon, a Catholic, devout Catholic, about the new Pope. We're going to get his story from him, and then we'll take some of your calls. 03444991000. So first of all, a warm welcome to my favourite American, Kinsey Schofield. Hi, Kins.
Hello, you're my favorite former LA resident too.
That's right. I see myself as a sort of semi-American. A lot of people here think I am a bit like that. They certainly did when I first got back. You know, using all those wrong words, hood, gas, faucet, so on and so forth. Now, Kinsey, bear with us. I know you watched my interview with Thomas Markle Jr. earlier. We've got a few more minutes of it, and then I'm really interested to get your take on it. So let's go back to the interview I conducted with Thomas Markle Jr. about Harry and his sister, Meghan Markle, earlier today. Is this why you and Tom Sr. are in the Philippines, to try to escape all of this, to try to escape the attention that you naturally attract?
Dad was in Mexico for almost 10 years, and he felt it was, time for a change. He wanted to come see. Being over here enables him to see a lot of the things that he wanted to see, like the pyramids in Cambodia. He wants to go to see some of the historical sites in Vietnam, and it makes it a lot easier. And he wanted just, nice people around him, and he wanted a change of pace. And he deserves it. I mean, he deserves to be left alone and enjoy life in general, not looking over his shoulder. Why this guy's
I know he's with you now, isn't he? So do give him our best. Let's go back to what Meghan has done to Harry, changed him, I think, beyond belief. Did you see the same? You were friendly with her first husband, Trevor. Did you see the same process happen to him? Did she sort of reduce Trevor as well? Did Trevor not know which way to turn? Because, as I say, I remember Harry, I'm sure you do too, as the carefree, happy-go-lucky guy. Yeah. Everybody loved him, didn't seem to have a care in the world, a smile for everyone. He looks like a haunted man in despair now. Did you see the same process happen to Trevor?
So it's really funny that you mentioned that, because none of us were invited to Trevor's wedding in Jamaica that my father paid for also. Meghan and Harry's wedding in Jamaica. From what I understand, it was just a beer fest and a smoke fest. But the last time I saw Trevor at my grandmother's memorial, I did happen to notice that Meghan almost dug her nails into his arm and was controlling him like he did something wrong, and then he was silent. Yeah. And that's very telling right there, because that's exactly what happens to Harry. How dare you, do this? How dare you do that? He's controlled. I mean, there are all those stories about him having some frozen parts down there. Maybe, he lost them completely, but I can't believe that this man, I can't believe that this man he has got to understand and realize what has happened to his life. Like you said, he used to be happy, smile, happy-go-lucky, in a good mood, smiling all the time. Yeah. I have not seen one picture that's not staged of him smiling with a professional photographer. It's crazy.
And what about her? What's going on with this kind of blizzard of activity? As I said earlier, she's finally launched this lifestyle site called As Ever. She had to change the name. So she's busy out there saying, oh, buy my jam, buy my honey, buy my edible flowers and all that. Also, there's this podcast. I think we're 4 episodes into it. I don't know if you've listened to it, but unless you're having trouble sleeping, don't, because it'll send you straight. It's so boring. It's unbelievable. Plus these interviews. She gave an interview to her friend Jamie Lima, didn't she? Why do you think she's so frenetic at the moment? As I said earlier, in our faces. You can't move for a Meghan interview, a Meghan podcast, a Meghan lifestyle site. She's in People magazine. She's all over the place. What is this all about? Why do you think that is?
It's called vanity. She's a legend in her own mind. Okay? She's playing this part out like she's God's gift to the world and everybody's supposed to worship her. It is so obvious. I mean, you know, this goes back to the days when, you know, I mean, oh my God. I mean, I start to wonder, like, I'm going to save that for the book, but I think it had a lot to do with Doria cooking some stuff, like something here or there or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have no idea. Who is this person? What the hell happened? Did you hit your head? Her podcast looks like methadone commercials or Prozac commercials. It's insane. It's like, who is going to sit and listen to this without getting nauseated? Like, how she thinks so highly of herself. I think she is her #1 fan.
I couldn't
and
agree
that's
more.
it.
Yeah, you're so right. I always say, Tom, that the trouble with your sister is, at some point in her life, she took a bucket full of boring pills. She wants to be this star. She wants to entertain millions. And people go, oh, isn't she great? Isn't she entertaining? But she's got no ability to be that. She is every time she opens her mouth, you want to fall asleep. She's dreary. She's dull. She doesn't seem to realise that, does she?
Yeah. It's me. And nobody can relate to somebody sitting there like, oh, I get up at 6:30, I do this, I do that, I make rainbow fruit spreads for the children every morning. You know, it's like,
who cares? Who cares?
It's like, you know, thanks. I was thinking about either paying my rent or buying some food for dinner. You know, it's like the general public cannot relate to somebody who is so full of themselves and who copies everything that she does. She mimics. And
She does. You're right.
It's crazy, you know.
No new ideas. You're absolutely right. When you were younger, I mean, the one thing you'd say about Meghan is she is full of a kind of intense, burning ambition for herself. Did you recognise that in her when she was a kid?
She was given every avenue, every stepping stone. She was given that, and she was just like, here you go, everything you need. You know, hooray for this. I mean, my father's contacts in Hollywood got her where she's at. And she didn't turn her, you know, she just went straight forward, didn't stop to thank anybody. It was all about her. And what she did after college in Toronto and all that stuff, and, you know, the boat trips, you know, I don't know. But there it is. And then nobody else in her life was any use to her whatsoever. Look at all her best friends who she dropped, and all these people have channels now, and they say the same thing that I do. It's like, who is this person?
Yeah,
they don't know.
Who is she? Yeah. At what point, Tom, did you realise that she had cut you out of her life? At what point did you realise you probably wouldn't talk to her again? When did she swing the axe?
That's when I reached out to the Palette to get paparazzi away from me, off my ass. I had to personally do that, and I had a lawyer friend up in Oregon help me with that. And the correspondence that we got back from Meghan's PR people was, that's distant family, and I don't know those people. So that's when I sat down and I wrote that letter to Harry. I go, if she's going to do this to me and our family, you're next. You're going to be blindsided. Get out while you can. That was the letter that I gave to the National Enquirer. So
I think that it's very sad that your dad, Thomas Sr., has never seen his grandchildren, and frankly is unlikely to. But I mean, don't you feel that? I mean, do you think you'll ever see them? Do you think anybody from the family will ever see those kids, or do you think you will ever talk to Meghan again?
I don't think I'll probably ever talk to Meghan again. I think Meghan is on her last leg. Her popularity is in the gutter. Of course, in my opinion, from what I see. And the response I get and the comments that I read every single day, I don't think there's any chance. Meghan's going to get to the lowest point very soon, and then she's going to realize what she's done, and then she's going to try and save face and make some pathetic attempt, of course with the Netflix crew, with the hidden microphones and the cameras, just like always, like she's already known for. She's going to try and reconcile with Dad, you know?
So what for the showbiz angle, because it'll make
for
a big
her own personal gain and her own personal PR. And that's just, nobody's going to buy it. Nobody's going to believe it, because nobody does. Everything that comes out of this woman's mouth is just garbage.
I said it at the time, you with love, Meghan. Absolute bore fest. I mean, toweringly tedious. And as I say, she doesn't really understand what interests people. She obviously doesn't understand how to be entertaining. Whenever she opens her mouth, you feel like you want to go to sleep. But I said at the time, well, if she wants to make a smash hit TV series or a TV show, reconcile with her family, with you, with your dad, with your sister. People would watch that. People would watch that. You think she might do that when she feels the time is necessary for her?
Oh, I've always sensed that's coming. You know, I mean, I've had a couple things on my palette for a few years now, a book, a documentary, and I've had things in the works, and I've had my chain yanked for 2 years, 3 years. Just people just dragging me out, leading me on for absolutely nothing. And I know where that comes from. It's no secret where that comes from. It came from all of her contacts, all her friends, putting the damper on anything that I ever want to do. And I have proof of that, even from my son and her contact with Will Smith and my son, who got bought out by her also, you know, for his weed business. But it's no secret whatsoever that she'll probably try that. And, you know, the once you're left,
what will you say? Will you say no?
Well, if Netflix wants to call and get the real story, you know, here, Tom, you know.
Sure. I'd watch that.
Yeah.
If Harry was with you now, or what would you say to him? What message would you deliver to Harry now?
Grow a pair.
Yeah. And do you think?
Wake up, Harry.
Yeah.
Wake up. You're in a spiral downward. You're going to crash and burn. You are crashing and burning right now. And believe me, I mean, honestly, I mean, this is the way it looks to everybody in the world too. Harry's a changed man. I've millions of comments. What happened to Harry? This poor man. Now people don't even feel sorry for Harry because he continues to do it over and over again. And how bad does it have to be? What is going on? What dirt does she have on you? Is she blackmailing you? What is going on? Does she keep your nuts in a jar in her purse? I don't know. It's just...
she cut you out of her life. She cut your dad out of her life. She cut your sister out of her life ruthlessly, as I said earlier. Do you think that she may do the same to Harry when she feels she doesn't need him anymore, or he's no use to her anymore? Do you think she'll cut him out of her life?
My opinion on that, Kevin, is I think it's straightforward, and I think it's going to happen. I think what's going to happen, because the threat of William taking the titles away, and he rightfully so, he should. If somebody attacked my wife like that while she was ill, that's something you can never forgive. Somebody talks so much trash about me, burns every single bridge, and then begs for forgiveness because their popularity sucks and they're in the gutter. And then you try and go crawling back, you know, and you want to go back and you make this big story up. It's such garbage. But I think once the titles get stripped, you know, I think Harry's done.
That's a good point. What do you make of, we're just running towards the end of this now, Tom, but what do you make of the fact that you understand that while Harry and Meghan are were allowed by the Queen to call themselves the Duke and Duchess of Sussex, what the Queen, that's the late Queen, of course, Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth, what her dying wish was that neither Harry nor Meghan, especially Meghan, used HRH, Her Royal Highness, because the Queen feared that your sister would use that HRH for commercial purposes, and that is a serious no-no for the royal family. What do you think about the fact that we now know that, contrary to the Queen's royal command, her wishes, your sister has resumed calling herself HRH?
Called vanity. You know, she disrespected Queen Elizabeth from the get-go. She mocked the Queen. She wouldn't listen to the Queen. She came into the royal family and thought she owned the place. I mean, look at the NDAs that are expired from the staff, and all the staff that would not work for Meghan, all the bullying, all the accusations, all this stuff. It's just, I think what happened, and quote me on this, because I think the Queen did say she knew she would know evil when she met it, and she met evil when she met Meghan Markle. And there are quotes out there floating around the internet that Meghan even told the Queen to drop dead on her way out. And I do believe the Queen, in my opinion, told Meghan, get out of my house. I think that's why they left.
If not, why not? Is your sister a bully?
Yeah, obviously.
Listen, Tom, thanks so much for talking to me again, and our very best to your dad. I know he's with you at the moment, and we will talk again soon. Well, there you go. Kinsey Schofield has been watching this. What we're going to do, we're going to go back, we're going to take a break now, and when we'll come back, we'll talk to Kinsey, get her reaction to some of the things Tom Markle was saying, and also there's some other royal issues to discuss with Ms Schofield. So that next, stay tuned.
hiding the fact that this is probably Labour's #1 most toxic policy since they came into government last July. And let's be honest, there's quite a lot of them which are pretty unpopular. But this has really struck a chord with voters. We saw it on the streets of Runcorn and in actual fact all over the country last Thursday, when at the first opportunity voters gave Labour the biggest kicking they could. The problem I think Keir Starmer finds himself now is that actually he's boxed himself in so much, he's expended so much political capital on this policy.
Talk across the UK on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, let's go straight back to Kinsey Schofield. Kinsey, I mean, you know, that interview spoke for itself. Last night, I mean, you and I, when we discussed that incredible interview that ill-advised, extraordinary interview that Harry gave last Friday, I mean, it went completely viral. People were astonished by the Harry that they saw there. Last night I had 2 psychiatrists on. We sort of put Harry on the couch, and they both said he definitely needs psychiatric help. Thomas Markle echoing that view. You know, Markle, like the rest of us, just stunned by what happened last Friday. And I think that the implications of that interview are only really now beginning to dawn on us, the magnitude of what he did. He burned all his bridges, didn't he? So he will probably never see his family again, in all likelihood never see his father again, might even not talk to him again, and the kids will never see their grandparents, and it goes on. I mean, what he did was extraordinary, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Reports here in the States are that Prince Harry was overwhelmed by the VE Day coverage. One source claimed that Harry watches every clip when it comes to the gorgeous displays of pomp and ceremony that go on back there. Balcony appearances, viral clips, even Prince Louis' silly faces, they said. He can't help himself. He may say he's moved on, but he's still obsessed with what he left behind. Yeah. I did feel like I read that just in Prince Harry's delivery when he sat down with the BBC last week. Another source added he still wants to be a part of it, whether he'll admit it or not, but the rest of the family has made peace with his absence. And then another source claimed that Harry's obsession with following the royals has become a private ritual. He's always watching. It's like he's stuck between letting go and longing to be invited back.
Yeah, one report I read said that in terms of the VE Day celebrations on Monday, you know, with the big RAF Red Arrows fly past, etc., that he fixated on the coverage and watched and rewatched clips of his family on the balcony as the focal point of the nation's celebrations, you know, celebrating the end of the Second World War 80 years ago. He's a military man. He should have been there in his uniform with his family. And I think that the magnitude of what he's done is only now beginning to dawn on him. That's the life he led behind back here in Britain. That's the life he was born to. He's now living a life that he wasn't born to. And I thought, as I've said many times now, that what we saw on Friday was a man in despair and possibly a man who has realised he has ruined his own life. But in so doing, he's been helped by Meghan. Meghan has lured him down this path, and now his life is in tatters. It's his fault, but it's also Meghan's fault.
Well, was it VE Day where there's a video of Harry and Meghan on? They are out there with the family, and I believe it's VE Day, and Meghan keeps looking back at Prince Harry, aggravated, and he tells her, you can watch his mouth. He's telling her, look forward, and there is some real discomfort between the two, and she kind of pouts and looks forward. But if you look on that balcony this last week, it was strength, it was unity, it was grace, it was dignity. And if you watch back to that video where Harry and Meghan are clearly agitated with each other on the balcony, Meghan doesn't understand what to do, doesn't know why she's there. She's unhappy being there. And he's trying to say, people are watching you closely right now. Look forward. Just look forward. Yeah. That dignity is, they stole that dignity from that balcony shot when they were there. So if Harry is looking at the balcony today, wondering what feels so different, it's that sense of pride that the family has. It's comfort, it's strength that they didn't have when these two troublemakers were still in the mix.
Wasn't it a bit odd? When was Archie's birthday? Was it Tuesday, was it? Or was it Monday? But Tuesday, I think it was. It's his 6th birthday. And Harry went to Vegas to some event to do with a Diana charity, a charity in honour of his mother. I mean, that's fair enough. But it seems a bit strange to jet off to Sin City on your beloved son's 6th birthday, doesn't it?
Well, and 2 years ago, he was with his dad at his coronation. So this isn't the first birthday he's missed with Archie. Yeah, I mean, it's a little odd. There have been conspiracy theories that some of these events have been planned in hopes that Harry will sit it out and stay home with the kids. Specifically with the coronation, everyone thought, oh, surely the family's doing this, so Harry will sit this out. And I don't know, when it comes to the Diana Awards, they seem to be grateful for his presence.
Yes, indeed. Well, look, should we move on to something a little more, shall we say, earthy, a little bit more down to earth? This is Meghan Markle, we remember, with Love, Meghan, that series on Netflix that sank without trace. I think we're going to get another series in September. Nobody wants it, but we're getting it anyway. Anyway, you remember, of course, notoriously, among the other useless recipes, you know, here's how you make ice cubes. Thanks, Meghan. But I think I can handle making an ice cube, but thank you for the instructions anyway. But among the other ludicrous, useless recipes, she told us how to make bath salts. And this included, I seem to remember, Himalayan salt, Epsom salts, arnica oil and lavender oil. And she basically just shoved it all into this jar and said, it's great, I give it to the guests and they can have a lovely bath and all this. Well...
And remember the producer interrupted her and was like, how much are you supposed to put in there? And she'd like she was annoyed.
Yeah. Just chuck it in. Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. So the viewers to this were left in some doubt as to, you know, the ingredients, how much of what you put into what. And I remember soon after that recipe was revealed on TV that a couple of experts said, yeah, you got to be careful here. You know, these are salts. These are kind of quite corrosive. You've got to be careful. Anyway, sure enough, somebody called Robin Patrick, a lady, I do believe, she made up this bath salts, the Meghan bath salts, got into her bath and ended up, she says, with serious burns. And she is now, and there's pictures of her legs. I mean, we don't know the veracity of this, but she is now threatening to sue Meghan Markle for $10 million after suffering what she calls catastrophic burns using Meghan's homemade bath salt recipe from the Netflix show. That could be problematic for Her Majesty, couldn't it?
Well, when I talked to an attorney about this at the time, he said that this could be a quick fix for Netflix. They could put, you know, just the slate on the screen, you know, black background, white font that says, don't do this without consulting a doctor or something like that. Just a really quick disclaimer to, you know, protect themselves. They didn't do that. Additionally, I talked to an attorney that worked for Disney, and he told me that, and I might have had this conversation with you already, but he suspected that in Meghan's contract, she had enough weight to put any blame on Netflix. So if somebody did sue her, like, oh, I don't know, the British royal family for saying something that they felt, you know, was damaging to their brand, that she would be protected under the Netflix umbrella and Netflix would take the brunt. And my friend that was working for Disney said, I think she probably has enough weight that if her team is smart enough, they would have ensured that Netflix would take all the heat if there were any lawsuits that came her way from something she said or something she did. But we don't know how smart her team is because, quite honestly, there've been so many mistakes over the last 5 years. And this person really, you know, she's saying that if her demands are met, this person with the burns, the injuries, if her demands are not met, she intends to launch this lawsuit seeking settlement damages of a minimum of $75,000 to cover medical expenses related to treatments of the alleged injuries. She, you know, compensate for pain and suffering, plus pay for future costs stemming from long-term effects. So, I mean, are we witnessing a shakedown?
Well, I mean, it could be, but you know, after that program came out, experts did say, be careful about this. Be careful about this. You know, if you just chuck in salts, I mean, as I say, they're corrosive, they're chemical. Now, in small amounts, they'll invigorate you, they'll make you feel fresh and very clean and all that. It's a great product. But if you get the amounts wrong, then experts warn you can damage yourself like this. And now, if this lawsuit has any veracity, then, you know, maybe Meghan will be in trouble. But interesting development there. Let me take you back to that Harry interview. I wanted to run this by you. What did you make of... This is what I find interesting about Harry, or one of the many things I find interesting for him. And by the way, my contempt for him that I've had for some time dissolved into a kind of sympathy on Friday. I feel sorry for him. There's something wrong with him. He is a man who knows he's wrecked his own life, and he's in the...
That is so funny that you said that, because I had somebody reach out to me and say, man, that Kevin guy, he hates Prince Harry. He called him ginger nuts.
Well, so, hey, he's still ginger nuts. He'll always be ginger nuts to me. You know, yeah, well, I mean, he's a quite comical figure as well, but he's a very sad figure now. But this is a window into his personality, into his odd kind of victimhood psyche. He will not let it go that the paparazzi, that the media did not contribute to the death of his mother. What killed his mother was a drunken Parisian chauffeur who drank a bottle of brandy and then drove her and Dodi Fayed through a tunnel in Paris at 120 miles an hour. That's what killed her. And yet Harry has never...
And she should have been wearing her seatbelt, Kevin.
Well, sure, but Harry has never accepted that story. He still says it was the media, it was the paparazzi. And, of course, magnanimously during that interview last Friday, he said, I'm even prepared to forgive the press. What do you think about that? You know, everybody knows the initial response to that awful tragedy back in '98, wasn't it? Was it must be the motorcyclists, the photographers following her, and everybody went, oh, these awful photographers, these paparazzi, and then it emerged that was not true. But Harry never accepted it wasn't true. He still thinks the paparazzi killed his mother. They didn't. Why won't he accept that?
Well, I mean, for legal reasons, we should probably say that they might have had something to do with it. In the grand scheme of things, would they have been speeding had they not been followed?
Well, no, they didn't need to. They weren't chasing him.
Well, I still don't want to get sued today.
What?
It's like,
By
it feels
who?
like a pretty
By
good
who?
day so far.
Who are you going to get sued
anybody.
by? Huh?
But I
the royal
understand what you're
family.
saying. How can you say that they killed your mother and sit and talk to the media as much as you do? The accusations that his mother's life ended because of the media, yet that is his immediate response to everything. Well, I'm going to go tell the press, which is also a very Princess Diana quality.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's familiar with that, but that's also very similar to something his mother would do. God love her.
Mm-hmm.
But none of his actions make a lot of sense. I have to write it off as the pot smoke, you know?
Yeah, maybe.
I'm not sure that I can justify that. Because also keep in mind, Kevin, Harry and Meghan, when they left the British royal family, between Netflix and their Spotify deal, they were in a position similar to what I feel like Donald Trump's done with Truth Social and initially did with Twitter until he got the boot. They were in a position to tell their own story and to bypass all media. Meghan has now cultivated her own audience on Instagram. If Harry really wanted to bypass the media and to have his own platform, he could have said what he needed to say on her Instagram the other day. They sent a press release the next day that was distributed widely. You know, it's the hypocrisy to continue to tear into the media because they're not done campaigning against the media.
No, I got you there. I agree with you there. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Why not start do it yourself the way Donald Trump did with Truth Social, and you can develop enough you can develop a platform of your own. Meghan basically has with Instagram.
Yeah. Develop a platform on your own, Harry. God knows you need something to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he now seems to me to have no purpose, and in the words of Bob Dylan, no direction home. He's a very sad man. He's lost, isn't he?
Yes, and Meghan is just living her best life.
Yes, exactly right.
Episodes.
Yeah.
Dropping new podcast episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. Please, no more of that podcast series, Confessions.
Well, and does she have any real friends, or does she pay all of her friends? Because the last one is Clever Blends. Her coffee, Meghan, the coffee company, Meghan is an investment in it. The last one was Highbrow Hippie. Meghan is an investor in that company. Do you have any real friends?
Well, don't you remember, Kinsey? I know I'm a good friend. She knows she's a good friend. She said so to Jamie Kern-Lima, remember?
Yeah. Yes, I do. Unfortunately, it's seared in my mind because of the baby voices.
But yeah, modesty, of course, is her great fault. What's going to happen next? I mean, I can't see her business doing too well. I don't think As Ever is going to be a success. The podcast is a disaster. He doesn't seem to be doing anything. What lies ahead for those two?
Well, she's got to get her husband in check, because everything he's done with the BBC interview, to me, it wreaked havoc on her rebrand that she has been so committed to. She's chasing joy. My God, she's the happiest person in the world. And Prince Harry looked like he wanted to punch somebody in the throat, anybody in the throat, when he sat down for that BBC interview. I know that some people think that it is Meghan, but I think that she is desperate to move on from that, because she realizes how they look resentful, bitter, pathetic, and stuck in the past. I mean, the man is still talking about a decision he made in 2020, and she wants to be on Drew Barrymore. She wants to be on Kelly Clarkson. She likes being a podcast guest. She loves talking about herself. She wants to continue to be able to do that. And it's a total contradiction when Prince Harry is sitting there saying, my life is in jeopardy. I'm afraid somebody's going to throw acid on my wife's face. Remember when he said that in another BBC interview? He, it sounds like, okay, well, don't you guys need to be under lock and key? Shouldn't you, if you were this much in jeopardy, should you guys not go and hide in a dark cave? And then, but she wants to go to Broadway. She wants the 4-car motorcade so she can go hang out with Time. His actions and what he's saying is hindering her growth and her celebrity.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting in the weeks and months to come, because maybe, as Thomas Markle Jr. suggested to me, that having cut so many people ruthlessly out of her life, her father, her brother, her sister, maybe Harry's next on that list. But if she feels he's not doing her any good, maybe she'll be on her way. Interesting times, Kinsey. Got to go now. It's been great talking to you this week, and have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk again on Monday. Kinsey Schofield there. Let's go straight to break.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. In about 10 minutes, we'll take a couple more of your calls, and then Andre Walker and Ash will be in to take over the helm of the Good Ship Talk, and they'll take you all the way through till 1 a.m. into the small hours. They'll be in a little while to let you know what they've got lined up for your entertainment, and they will be entertaining. They always are. But before we get to all of that, let's talk about the new Pope. He is Robert Francis Prevost. And will now be known by his papal name as Leo the 14th. Without further ado, let's go over to Catholic and broadcaster Claire Muldoon. Welcome to the show, Claire.
Hi, Kevin. Lovely to see you.
It's great to have you on board.
Thank you.
Tell me what you know about this guy. I gather it's a bit of a surprise selection by the papal conclave. He wasn't thought to be a front runner, but he's the first American pope. And also, we've learnt that they think he's an official member of the Republican Party. He certainly voted Republican for many years. Also, Donald Trump recently donated $14 million to the Catholic Church in America. He's very happy today, no doubt thinking that Pope Leo will make the Roman Catholic Church great again. Seriously, what do you know about this guy? Are you, as a devout Roman Catholic, are you happy with this appointment?
Well, I think we have to look back at the conclave and what that means to Catholics. Biggest promotion, if you like, to a head of state there is globally, and there's no getting away from that. Leo the 14th is the 267th Pope ever to be elected through the virtue of the conclave, which only took 3 votes. And for that, we can take from that most of the cardinals were actually aligned. It was the most diverse conclave, the youngest conclave, because there was only 133 out of the eligible 252 Catholics that were eligible to vote, cardinals, sorry. So 133 men under the age of 80 were eligible to vote. 3 of them were from the UK. Yes, there were front runners, but for us mere mortals, it was merely in our list, certainly not in the cardinals list in the consistory of the conclave. And it's quite refreshing that it only took 3 votes. And that can tell us that the cardinals were actually aligned. And when we saw the pictures of the cardinals standing either side of the Legio that the Pope came out to, we could see, I could see, it was very visible in their faces. They were all thinking, thank God it's not me. And I think that was one of the most beautiful things ever. And without any profanity, because indeed they were thanking God. So we know that he was ordained a priest in 1982, which actually was the year that John Paul II, now St. John Paul, actually came and visited the UK. He was made a priest. He took the orders of obedience, chastity, and everything else that you do when you're becoming a priest. But he's a very new cardinal. Pope Francis made him a cardinal in 2023. And in his election of him being a cardinal, he also made Pope Leo the 14th now as head of the bishops of Southern America. And he was very much aligned to Pope Francis, and he clearly knows the machinations of the Vatican. And notwithstanding the fact that the papal inbox hasn't been touched for the past 10 days. Yeah. So when we saw Pope Leo come onto the Legio, he looked very emotional. I thought he looked quite beautiful and quite serene, in fact.
Slightly choked up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just ask you, Claire, what direction will he take the Catholic Church in? Will he be a liberal or will he be a conservative?
Look, Kevin, we can only hope and trust in God that through this appointment, and I like to say that there's no left in Catholicism, there's no left in doctrine, there's only the right way. Take from that what you want and take from that what your viewers and listeners want. But, we have to hope that he upholds the doctrine of the faith, and he upholds it in a way that he can bring more people into the fold of the church and Christianity. And indeed, you know, we often say that Pope John Paul II was the Pope of the soul, the mind, okay, the soul.
Yeah.
Pope Benedict was Pope of the mind, and Pope Francis was Pope of the heart.
Yeah.
And we hope that perhaps Pope Leo might be the Pope of the body of the church, the Eucharist of the church, the universality of the church. That person, that holy person, hopefully can, you know, make bridges, not build walls, but make bridges.
Just a last point, Claire. Obviously, it's very meaningful for you and billions, 1.5 billion devout Catholics around the world. But in an instant, this guy, Robert Francis Prevost, who's now, of course, Pope Leo XIV, has become one of the most important, influential human beings on the face of the earth.
And it's interesting.
Try to just quickly, Claire, try to sum up what the Pope means to Catholics and just how important they are.
Right, we're very lucky to have one single head of our church. Unlike Jews, unlike Muslims, unlike Hindus, we have that one person. That is our go-to for the doctrine of the faith, and which we trust, and we believe that he has been given this papacy, this huge responsibility to steer the church forward, to bring us with him. And as he said, when he walked out onto the Legio, he said, "Let Christ be before me. Christ is the light of the world." And that is what we hope, that he will be able to shine through the global disharmony, the utter violent and evil discourse that we're finding ourselves in. We only need to look at Gaza, we look at the Ukraine, look what's happening all over the world. And we hope and we trust in God and indeed the Holy Spirit that came down to the cardinals in the consistory, in the conclave. And we can only hope through freedom, and that's really important, Kevin, through freedom that people will be able to live their lives.
I'll tell you what, one last very earthly point that I'll make, Claire, is that there are two countries that do pomp and ceremony better than anywhere else on earth. One is Britain. We saw that with the VE Day celebrations, and the other is the Vatican. My God, they can put on a show, can't they? Absolutely spectacular.
And it's full of symbolism, Kevin. And it's full of tradition. And tradition links the past to the future. And that's what we have to hold on to. And lovely, by Claire. God, we need it.
Yeah, I totally agree. Claire, lovely. Really nice to talk to you. Come back on again soon. That's Claire Muldoon. She comes onto our shows quite a lot, but I hadn't realised that she was such a devout Catholic. But interesting. And congratulations to all you Catholic listeners, and I hope you're happy with your new Pope. And I hope he's a good Pope, obviously. Let's go to break. We'll take some calls when we come back.
hiding the fact that this is probably Labour's #1 most toxic policy since they came into government last July. And let's be honest, there's quite a lot of them which are pretty unpopular. But this has really struck a chord with voters. We saw it on the streets of Runcorn and in actual fact all over the country last Thursday, when at the first opportunity voters gave Labour the biggest kicking they could. The problem I think Keir Starmer finds himself now is that actually he's boxed himself in so much, he's expended so much political capital on this policy.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Well, it's been quite an unusual show. I hope you don't mind, but we did do this exclusive interview with Thomas Markle Jr. earlier today, and we thought, trust me, it went on for a lot longer than that, so we edited it down, but a lot of interesting stuff in that, so we thought we would give you as much of it as possible, get Kinsey's view. A lot of other things going on today. I should sort of be put in my place, really. I'll admit, I wasn't encyclopedic about this deal, this American trade deal that Britain has done. And some people are... well, look, here's an interesting response. This is from Les in Cheshire. You hear a lot of this, you know, go, oh, we've done a great trade deal, this is so brilliant for Britain. And people go, yeah, it's going to be great for the economy. And then people go to the shops and go, yeah, but everything is really expensive. Nothing seems to make any difference. Les in Cheshire says, trade deal with India, trade deal with America, and still the price of goods in the British shops are increasing. Pot noodle for me. That's Les. Exactly. And what have we got here on... this is from Betty, pointing out some of the pitfalls of this deal. Betty says the UK does not make or export US-specific steel. We make no aluminium, and the products are now exempt. The only benefit is to car and the military. Yeah, I think that what slightly worries me about this deal is I'm not sure it benefits, you know, the man on the street very much, although I'm told it will save quite a few jobs. That in itself is worth thinking about. Well, this is from Mark in Norwich, putting me in my place. I said it was quite a good thing that there's been an American trade deal, but as I say, forgive me, I wasn't, completely encyclopedic about it. It sounded like a good thing, but Mark points out, he says, so if you go to buy something from a pound shop and they threaten to put the price up to £1.25, then if you end up paying £1.10p for it, and you think that's a good deal, do you? Come on, Kev, it's terrible. Well, that is well put, Mark. So, metaphorically, things used to be a quid. Trump, through his tariffs, put them up to 125, and now they've gone back to 110. So we are still paying more. Our trade deal is still worse than it was when Trump came in. So I get that. And Margaret says, no credit to two-tier Keir, all credit to Trump. Trump loves the UK. The UK, this is Betty again, the UK, oh no, that same message. Yeah, I'll look into more of the details. We'll discuss it in detail tomorrow. But, this deal, it's better than it was, but it's still higher than it used to be. So don't listen to Trump saying it's the best thing since sliced bread. Let me quickly talk to Bill in London, wants to talk about the Iranian terror plot. Hello, Bill.
Hi, Kevin. Good to talk to you. I just wanted to make the point, as someone that's worked within criminal justice for a number of years myself, in various different roles, so I kind of know how the system works. Yeah. And if this is a case of the government telling the police what they can or can't say in relation to these suspects that have been arrested, then I think the police are to blame, because at the end of the day, they don't have to say what the government advises them, or do you know what I mean?
I'm not sure where this is coming from, Bill, but when it was after Southport, you're right, it was like an amalgam, a combination of the Merseyside police, the Crown Prosecution Service, and a government that somehow did not want us to know the truth about the suspect. So they all kind of worked together on that one. In this instance, the Iranian terror plot, I'm not so far as I can work out, this lack of information is coming from the government. I'm not sure what the police's role in this veil of secrecy is so far, but the point is there's no way us knowing whether or not they're illegal migrants would prejudice the investigation, or it cannot prejudice their trials because they're not charged, so there aren't any charges. We're being given a load of gobbledygook, Bill, wrapped up in pretend legalese. Oh, well, this would prejudice this and that and that. Because I think the government will be embarrassed by the truth, which is, in my view, these people probably are asylum seekers.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, obviously, with these things, it is very sensitive, and there's obviously, you know, very sensitive intel and secret information involved, and they have to be.
But it's not. I agree with you, Bill. You've got to be careful, but it's not sensitive how they came into the country. They should be telling us.